1819 News.
A former Lauderdale County judge is avoiding incarceration for a 12-year prison sentence by appealing his case. Gil Self was found guilty of using his office for personal gain as well as perjury. Self has had to pay a $12,000 appeal bond and has been released until his appeals case goes to trial. The attorneys for Self argue that their client has repaid all of the money after an audit showed that he had not completed the process properly. The lawyers also point out that 2 other judges are repaying funds as a result of an audit, but they're not being criminally charged. A Lauderdale County jury deliberated on the Self case in November of 2025. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Some of the greatest blessings is just having people that care about you, to have someone that's just going to love you and make you feel important. They encourage you to be in church. They encourage you to be in prayer. They encourage you to be in your Bible. Now it's a part of my day every day. My house parents planted seeds in me that you can see where those seeds have sprouted in my life and helped change my life.
Big Oak Ranch, a Christian home for children needing a chance.
An illegal alien is facing multiple charges after a vehicle crash occurred on Christmas Day in Florence. 35-year-old Martin Miranda was driving a vehicle that crashed into another car with 2 females inside. Both the driver and passenger were seriously injured as a result of that crash. Miranda was driving while under the influence of alcohol. He originates from Guatemala. A resident of Albertville is under arrest for human smuggling and other charges. Arely Guzman is accused of being part of a criminal enterprise that includes Edgar Guzman and Alex Corona as the criminal leaders. Arely Guzman is being charged for breaking federal law in transporting illegal aliens in Houston, Texas. She's also charged with aggravated shooting and hostage taking. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
Hi there, I'm Madeline Cannon with Alabama Home Mortgage. Getting pre-approved is the first step towards home ownership. People are often scared or nervous about taking that first step, but I'll tell you, it's nothing to be scared of. At Alabama Home Mortgage, we will take the first step and every step along the way with you. Call us at 567-4223. We will gather the information needed to tell you exactly what you qualify for. After a call to Alabama Home Mortgage, you will know what price point to shop for, what down payment is required, if any, and what your monthly mortgage payment will look like. We take all the guessing out of it. Then, when you find the house you want to make your home, you are ready to make an offer. Along with your offer, you will submit your Alabama Home Mortgage pre-approval letter. This shows sellers that you've already taken the steps necessary to ensure that you qualify to purchase their home. Wait no longer. It's time to take that first step together. Call me at 567-4223 or start the process online at myalabamahomemortgage.com.
That's Alabama Home Mortgage because, folks, there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586-36-8, Equal Housing Lender.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
This is our country. We live in the southeast. We drink whiskey. We drink social unity.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
Joey Clark.
Welcome into the program. I'm your host, Joey Clark. I mean, not much has happened because it's just the new year and, people start, oh, wait. I look up at my screen. Is that the El Presidente, Nicolás Maduro of Venezuela? He's en route back to prison after a court appearance. I wonder what happened. It's all coming back to me from the weekend. The press conferences, the major operations, and what an operation it was, the arrest of Nicolás Maduro, law enforcement, the United States military, everybody working in concert to get this done. And joining us to talk about this operation, as well as a little bit of what's going on the campaign trail, we have candidate for Senate, Jarrett Hudson. He wants to be your next new U.S. Senator here in Alabama.
What's up, brother?
What's up?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Doing good. You can hear me, but can't see me. They're working on it.
Okay.
But as long as you can hear me,
you.
that's all that matters.
Yes, sir. Great to have you on. And well, first, your initial reaction to this operation.
Brother, I mean, this is huge. I mean, look at what President Trump did. He went in, black bag, a narco-commie dictator, snatched him out of his bed in the middle of the night with one of the most elite fighting forces the planet has ever seen. Delta Force goes in with their law enforcement counterparts, grab this dude, fly him back to New York City where he's going to await justice. And that's what we're dealing with now. You just mentioned seeing that on the news. And here's the other side of it. You've got a bunch of Democrats and liberals screaming to the top of their lungs about, oh, this is imperialism. They're all upset over snatching this bad guy and bringing a fugitive to justice. And in the meantime, what do they want to do? They want to take your tax dollars and they want to host, Queer Story Hour or transgender musicals in Caracas. And meanwhile, President Trump is doing something positive with your tax dollars for the American people and protecting the men and women who go out and do it by keeping it quiet until it was done and then celebrating those individuals that went in and actually snatched this bag. I think it's huge. I mean, I think it's awesome.
Well, and there is a little bit of a syndrome, and I think it's been warranted after Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya and so many other ventures. But I believe I saw the Secretary of State Rubio say on the Sunday shows, this is not the Middle East. This is a completely different ball game, and we haven't done a full-on invasion. What do you make of the folks who maybe mean well, but kind of have this, like we can't go back and do another Iraq war sort of thing? Does this not inspire some confidence that the U.S. military and our leaders are actually competent?
No, you're exactly right. I mean, in Proverbs 19:2 says, zeal without knowledge calls you to miss the mark. And I think a lot of these individuals miss the mark on what we actually see happening here. One, this is in our hemisphere. This should be a partner that we have in our hemisphere. But what are they doing? They're playing footsie with China. They're playing footsie with Iran while they're sending people across our borders, all of these narco drug boats we've been smoking, and people that are pouring across the borders, drugs that are pouring across the borders that I see as a law enforcement officer and working with my buddies in law enforcement regularly. We see the American people being attacked by lack of response to this. So that's the first thing. This isn't the Iraq or the Afghanistan where we're going into to possibly get people that have gone after us. We know for sure that this dictator in Venezuela is negatively impacting the American way of life. So that's the first thing. The second thing, it's effective and efficient by the way we're doing it. We're doing it, one, with special operations, military snatching the bad guys. Number two, court-ordered sanctions to hopefully leverage our power, as Marco Rubio was talking about, which is huge. And then number three, there was an ideological issue in the Middle East versus in South America. Venezuela, most of their people, they hold on to the same life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness that we do. And we don't see that happening as much in the Middle East because of the ideological differences. So that's where I think it's a complete different, it's a different battle space. It's a different area of operation.
Now, given your background, what could you give folks maybe a little bit of a general behind the scenes look? What is required to pull off an operation of this, like, it's magnificent. Like, the capabilities are astounding.
Well, the front end of it is silence. The front end of it is making sure that you don't have a bunch of politicians and a bunch of the bureaucracy talking about it and leaking stuff to people who might pay them. And it might not be nefarious intent that does it. It might be that, hey, we're going to get an extra dollar from CNN because so many people want to make these things political. So that's where a special operations action, and more so than a special operations action, a law enforcement action against an international criminal. This isn't the first time something like this has happened, but it's the first time of something like this, this magnitude has happened. It's got to be quiet on the front end. And what happens as soon as we got him? Buddy, let everybody know, celebrate it on the back end. So that's the first part that goes into it. The second part is making sure that military and law enforcement are able to work together effectively, because this is a law enforcement operation that's carried out by one of our special mission units, Tier 1 unit, this one being Delta or CAG or whatever they're called now in the news.
Yeah, it's just incredible to see. And just to underline the point, what sort of messages in your mind this send to Russia, China, and folks who are playing in our hemisphere?
Bro, it tells all these guys, welcome to the show. And say, hey, we're still America. We still know how to do the business, and we've got leadership that lets us do the business. You want us to stop smoking drug boats? All right, we'll go snatch the dude. We'll cut the head off the snake to make sure that we start ending that. If you want to be a friend with us, we'll be your friend. If you don't want to be a friend with us, we'll be the worst enemy you ever had. And that's I think that's what it shows to all of our foreign adversaries, but also our foreign partners. We're not playing games. We're not sitting back eating ice cream anymore like we saw in the previous administration. This isn't a bunch of bureaucrats and a bunch of politicians talking anymore. This is the real deal. We're going to get the job done.
And folks, I'll be playing clips from the Secretary of State, from the President of the United States, some commentary from the Vice President, and as well as some, I would say, unhinged reactions from some folks on the left. Another thing came out in the news I definitely want to get your take on. And again, folks, we're talking to Jared Hudson. He is a candidate to be your next senator, U.S. senator from the great state of Alabama. Saw Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, Hegseth's post today on X that they are pursuing a cut to Senator Mark Kelly's military pension over his Seditious 6, quote unquote, video, and suggesting that these are some illegal operations and maybe people should disobey, quote unquote, illegal orders. What do you make of this?
I mean, I think it's great. You play dumb games, you win dumb prizes. And one thing is he still fell under the UCMJ because he's receiving military retirement. While he receives his pay as a senator, but he's still receiving military retirement, which means they can pull him back under UCMJ orders. And one of the things that you can't do when under UCMJ in the military, whether it's a retired officer or retired enlisted personnel or active, is you can't create seditious behavior or be a conduit through which seditious behavior can be played out against the leadership of our government. And it's already outlined in the oath that officers take. Officers take an oath strictly to the Constitution. Enlisted people like me, we took an oath to the Constitution, to the officer that was in charge of us, and the commander in chief. What he did is he was given leeway from his position to disobey direct orders that they already knew. Hey, if they're unlawful, then we don't have to obey them because these officers took that oath. He was going a step further than that, and I think that he's going to pay for it.
Here, and we'll see the proceedings afterwards. But yeah, it kind of it's a version of the question, what did you stop beating your wife? It just presumes like the illegal activity. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is something not having to obey a legal order. This is something taught almost at day one.
Yeah, and it goes all the way back. They just had a new movie come out, Nuremberg, about the Nuremberg trials, right? It goes all the way back to Nazi Germany of, if I'm called to go in and kill a bunch of women and kids by my leader, well, no, I can disobey that order, right? But the things that we see happening, and they even asked everybody that were part of that Seditious 6, they all said, hey, we don't believe there's anything that's unlawful now. We're just saying if you do hear it, you don't have to follow it. Come on, guys. All you're doing is political theater, and now political theater is coming back to bite somebody because there's a little bit of there's more than just symbolism there. Now we've got some substance, and I think he's going to get hammered on the UCMJ.
Now, shifting here to just Alabama and the campaign trail, just simple question. How is the campaign going? What have you been seeing out there?
Man, it's going great. Obviously, we were able to take some time off for Christmas and New Year's, spend time with family, and that's what everybody should be doing around this time. But in doing that, we're getting ready to kick off hard going into the new year, and it's been going great. People really resonate with our story. They resonate with not a career politician. They resonate with United States Navy SEAL and law enforcement officer. They resonate with we stand for our constitutional freedoms. We live in a representative government, and people have really liked hearing that when a representative goes to Washington, D.C. on your behalf, they are not your leader. You are the leader. They are there to serve you. And when I say send a warrior to D.C., I'm not saying it as some slick-tongued politician that's claiming I can fight for you. I'm saying as a guy who shot people for this nation and has stood beside men far greater than me that gave their lives for this nation, a real fighter. I'm a real fighter. I can go to D.C. and represent you and fight for your issues and not bring the issues of D.C. back here to you, the people of Alabama. And that story really resonates with people. So we've been getting a lot of positive response.
Here, here. Now, what would you say, or it doesn't have to be any particular order, but say top 3 issues that keep coming up when you're meeting folks out on the campaign trail?
I would say top 3 issues are obviously the safety and security aspect, the securing of our borders, criminal enterprise within some of our major cities, right? We see what's going on in Birmingham, Montgomery, and now Huntsville growing the way it is. In particular on the criminal enterprise, human trafficking and drug trafficking, which sometimes go hand in hand. A lot of people ask about that. Well, I say then what better to send than a law enforcement officer and a guy who runs a nonprofit that combats human trafficking that has actually worked in those cities and understands what's happening on the ground. So that's the first thing. The second thing would be affordability of housing. And the third thing would be affordability of healthcare. Those are probably the top 3 things that I hear the most of. The biggest issue with affordability is making sure that we remove the red tape of our own federal government to do the things that they're supposed to do. 1, protect the people, whether it's from outside enemies or criminal enterprise inside this nation or inside our state. Number 2, infrastructure, which are road, bridges, and broadband now that we live in a digital era. And then number 3, making sure that a free and fair market is maintained. That's the one thing that we see the federal government really overstepping on, is especially in the housing and the healthcare industry, is a free and fair market has not been maintained. That's what the federal government's supposed to do. If we can get the federal government out of those issues, I think we're going to elevate the way of life for people in Alabama and increase affordability.
Now, you did it a little bit, but let's pretend like I've never talked to you. Like, say I'm meeting you at a campaign event. Maybe it's even like a candidate forum, and it's sort of the 1-minute elevator pitch. Like, who is Jared Hudson?
Yeah, so I mean, real quick and easy. I'm a Christian, and in Alabama, everybody's a Christian. So I have to qualify what that means. Jesus is my Lord and Savior. I'm a born-again believer in the person of Jesus Christ, and that is the only thing about me that's eternal. That's the most important thing about me. The next thing is I'm an Alabama family man. I've got a beautiful wife and 3 beautiful little girls who I love dearly, and I'm raising my family right here in the great state of Alabama. And then the third thing is I'm a Navy SEAL sniper, a law enforcement officer, currently as a deputy here in Alabama, and also as a federal task force officer with Homeland Security. And finally, I'm the CEO of my small business, the Shooting Institute, and a nonprofit Covenant Rescue Group that combats human trafficking, in particular through child exploitation. So those are the hats that I wear. And the reason I believe those things outline why I'm the best pick for your next Republican senator from the great state of Alabama is because, 1, I understand the eternal calling and the calling of a legislator to elevate something beyond themselves, right? What does Jesus say? He says, love the Lord God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Something is more important than me. I believe it's God, but I also believe it's you, the people, who would elect me to represent you. And then I have to love my neighbor, those around me, at least equally as me. So I understand that as a Christian. The second thing is an Alabama family man. And I know with all of the families that are listening to what I'm saying, we plant trees, no one will never sit in the shade. We want to make sure that our posterity has every opportunity we've had, and maybe even more in this great state. And the final thing is, as a SEAL, as a law enforcement officer, as a business owner, somebody who has truly fought and stood in the gap for the people that I'm called to fight for at that moment in time, whether as a SEAL, a law enforcement officer, or the guy who runs a business, signs the front of a paycheck so you can sign the back. I believe that I am a real fighter that can take your issues to D.C. and not the issues of D.C. back here to you, the people of Alabama. And that's why I believe I'm your best pick to be your next Republican senator from the state of Alabama, because I understand what we the people means, and I understand what's required to go to D.C. and stand in the gap for you.
If there's anybody out there in my audience who likes what they're hearing, has heard you before, maybe it's their first time, and they want to help you out, they want to volunteer, they want to donate, how can they do so?
Yeah, go to HudsonForAlabama.com and just check us out there. Like and follow everything on the social media or the Twitter sphere, whatever you want to call it. You know, make sure that you keep up with what we're doing. And we would love to bring you onto the team. Hopefully, if you're listening to what I'm saying, I've earned your support, because it's a lot. Your vote is a lot. People don't realize what their vote is worth. Your vote on May 19th, which is important in this state because that is the Republican primary, and that will be the date that decides your next statewide elected official. In my case, it's going to be the U.S. Senator from the state of Alabama. I hope that I've earned your support for that day on May 19th.
Amen. And by the way, I really appreciate that you're a Christian first. And my op-ed coming out tomorrow, I'll read it here in a second to my audience, is all framed in Ezekiel 20, especially Ezekiel 20:29. And I'll just say, I don't have to tell you, but avoid the high places, especially in politics, sir. And we should all strive to do that and get on the straight and narrow.
100%, brother. You're exactly right.
Well, I appreciate the time as always, Jared. And yeah, if you're ever in the area, stop on by.
Hey, thanks for having me, brother.
Again, folks, that is Jared Hudson. He is a candidate to be your next United States Senator here in the great state of Alabama. Y'all check him out if you like what you're hearing. 272-9228 if you want to join in on the conversation. When it comes to Venezuela and Maduro's arrest, again, Maduro is now en route back to prison after a court appearance. Maduro has pleaded not guilty, doesn't expect bail or anything like that. Maduro said, "I am a kidnapped president. I am a prisoner of war." Apparently, that is what he said in court. And of course, a lot of things to go over from the president, from the Secretary of State, from the vice president, and so many other voices reacting to this, I would say, astounding move by Trump and team. And as Trump himself has put it, it's the DONROE doctrine, an update of the Monroe doctrine. A lot of folks didn't take it seriously. I do. Let's go to line one real quick. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, this is Teases.
Hey, Teases.
Hang on just a second. Let me get rid of this. There we go. I wanted to ask this gentleman, we all see that Tommy Tuberville is running for governor.
Yes.
And therefore is sitting down. What is he doing to follow in Tuberville's steps so that there will be no gap in what he does and the successes that we have seen with Senator Tuberville? That was my question for him. But to look at the situation with Venezuela, other countries need to stop and look at what we are doing now. The president of this country promised to clean it up. And that is what he's doing. Those senators in office who are not very happy about it, they need to get a grip and realize that President Trump is doing exactly what he promised he would do. We need to be replacing those senators who do not agree with it.
Good question.
The situation with Minnesota is, why are any federal dollars going to Minnesota at all today? Every single dollar going into that state today needs to be stopped until this is finished.
Oh, and a lot of those flows are going to be slowed down, if not cut off completely. The administration and different arms of the administration have already announced that. And did you see the news today that Governor Tim Walz is not going to seek re-election to remain governor of Minnesota? Wow.
I did see that. I did see that. And quite frankly, I'd like to see him arrested tomorrow for perpetuating the fraud that's been going on in that state.
Hear, hear. Well, I appreciate it, T-Spear. I'm sorry, I just saw you call at the tail end. Happy New Year. 272-9228. Again, if you want to get in on the conversation. Coming up a little later, we'll have Austin Barranco giving an economic breakdown and reaction to the events around Venezuela, especially the effect on energy markets, in particular oil prices, as well as some moves the Federal Reserve is making quietly. Looks like they might be doing some quantitative easing again. So I look forward to talking with Austin Barranco of Invista Advisors at around 1250 mark, give or take. Before I continue on, before we hit a break here, this part of the program brought to you by Montgomery Men's Health. And if you are a man and you do not feel like you need to get by Montgomery Men's Health. They have a lot of options there for men who just don't feel themselves. You only got one life, gentlemen, and it's too short for not nows, maybe laters. I'll do it tomorrow, mañana. No. If you're noticing issues with ED, that's no fun. You know what I'm talking about. Low T, either or other issues that are just kind of like a whole basket of symptoms, then your relationships, your confidence, even your career has already probably been affected. Online folks promise convenience and discretion, but their treatments are generic and some even unsafe. Guys, no more excuses. Montgomery Men's Health has urologists and providers focused solely on ED and low T. They do it the right way. No unproven snake oils or peptides without solid research. Since 2022, they've been helping men reclaim their confidence with safe, effective treatment. So call them up at 440-3663 right now or book online in under 30 seconds at montgomerymenshealth.com. Y'all check them out and be sure to tell them when you make an appointment there that Joey sent you. Turn your tomorrows into today. Don't procrastinate. Get it done. Again, that number 440-3663 or book online at montgomerymenshealth.com. We'll be right back.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Welcome to Eclectic Coins, Montgomery's largest coin dealer, specializing in buying and selling investment-grade gold and silver coins. And they have a large selection of rare coins and coins from around the world. Visit them at 543 Northeastern Boulevard or on the web at eclecticcoins.com. Eclectic Coins, where collectors who know go.
Hello, this is David Ernest with Ernest Financial. And just like Ernest Financial makes lots of money for our clients, Blue Water has helped us make lots of money for our company. You cannot go wrong with advertising with Blue Water Broadcasting.
Did you know that radio is the #1 reach platform in all of media? It's true. Call us to find out how to put radio's #1 reach to work for your business. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
The River Region's News Talk station. News Talk 93.1. WACV. News Talk 93.1.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Again, I'm your host, Joey Clark, and here's the president. I guess this was on Saturday morning. Let's listen in.
All the way back, it dated to the Monroe Doctrines. And the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal, but we've superseded it by a lot, by a real lot. They now call it the DONROE document. I don't know. It's
the DONROE, but you kind of you muddled through it. You got it. He probably is tired. Long night, but the DONROE doctrine, and he's honestly been signaling this for months now. J.D. Vance sent this signal at the Munich Security Conference. And what's with that one fellow started crying? You just don't crying at the Munich Security Conference. Oh, it's all the United States is so mean to us now. Okay. But J.D. Vance sent that signal within the first month of the administration. Europe needs to carry its own weight. The entire approach to the Middle East is to create peace and stability and order and get the United States out. Trump was sending the signal with the whole Greenland thing, and you even have Denmark still freaking out after especially this move against Venezuela with cries of imperialism and all this other stuff. But Donald Trump is not playing. The Monroe Doctrine has become the DONROE Doctrine. Now, I will say, what's next? That's always a good question. This was not a full-on invasion. And I think that was probably prudent, wise. But the question is, what's next? What will the reaction be? What are the next steps? Are we going to see things in Mexico? Are we going to see things in Colombia? Are we going to see countermeasures by the Chinese and the Russians? All these things are on the table and much, much more. But if you just look last month, less than a month ago, they came out with a new national security strategy of the United States of America. And it said plain as day, if the Armada assembled there in the Caribbean didn't already make it clear, it made plain as day, the Monroe Doctrine is back on, and they're now adding the new Trump corollary, the DONROE Doctrine, so to speak. For better or for worse, Trump is not doing business as usual. And though it's disappointing some that he was going to go like full Ron Paul, which was always nonsense, no, he wasn't. It's amazing that people see what they want to see when it comes to Trump. And he wasn't ever going to go full neocon. I apologize, Lindsey Graham, though. Lindsey just looked happy while he was on Air Force One with the president just last night. But this has been signaled for a while. And I think the lesson out of this is Trump is not playing. He ain't playing at all. 272-9228 if you want to get in your reaction to this move. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, buddy, it's Clint.
Hey, Clint, how are you?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. It's already busy 2026.
It should be. Time for you to get back to work.
Yeah. No, I worked last
You
week.
don't have too many days off.
Yeah, I agree with you. Just a normal week, it does the body right.
Yeah. It's a good thing, though, you know. And Happy New Year and to you and yours and your family and your friends. So that's a good thing. So,
same to you, Clint.
Hey, my question is, Venezuela, I don't see a problem with that, but Trump also mentioned Colombia and Cuba.
Yes.
Cuba has not given us no problems since President Kennedy. Not really. I work with Cubans down in Miami, and they love America.
Oh, no, the issue is not with Cubans. It's with the regime still in Cuba.
The regime.
And it's interesting. I didn't know this till after the strike. Like, the Cubans were providing all the intelligence and security services for Maduro. And then,
oh, really?
Right.
I had not heard that.
A lot of Cubans died in that raid. I'll put it that way. And the Cuban government is very upset about this. And the reason Colombia is also upset is a lot of their drugs were going through Venezuela. So, like, these are all tied together. I think this is why Trump is mentioning all of them together.
Well, I support my president, and but hey, leave the Colombians alone for the weed. They got good weed.
I'll tell whoever I can tell. I agree. Don't get rid of the good weed. I like that.
Yeah, leave her, get everything else, but leave the weed alone. Ain't gonna hurt nobody.
You can get the meth,
All
you can
right,
get
man,
the cocaine, you can get the fentanyl. Don't touch the cannabis. Yeah.
Yeah. Have a great new year. I'm sure we may talk again. So
Happy New Year, Clint. And let's now go back to the president. This was again on Saturday morning, where this freaked out a lot of people. What do you mean you're going to be running it?
We are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious because that's what we're all about. We want peace, liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela. And that includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States and want to go back to their country. It's their homeland. We can't take a chance that somebody else takes over Venezuela that doesn't have the good of the Venezuelan people in mind. We've had decades of that. We're not going to let that happen. We're there now, and what people don't understand, but they understand as I say this, we're there now, but we're going to stay until such time as the proper transition can take place. So we're going to stay until such time as we're going to run it, essentially, until such time as a proper transition can take place.
And you've seen some folks saying this just means Venezuela is a de facto colony of the United States. And, all the bad words you can come up with. And, of course, this is unconstitutional. This is illegal. These are all the international law. International law. Who's enforcing international law? Now, you maybe could appeal to the natural God and natural law of the natural God. And, we'll find out in the hereafter who actually lived up to things. But when it comes to, the international law or all these appeals to let's just have peace, love, and hope, and forgiveness, and liberty, and solidarity, and brotherhood, and all these other things. It's like, it's interesting how so many people saying that. It's like, was Maduro all about those things? Like, when you play in the anarchy that is the geopolitical stage, you might end up, well, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And everybody who lives by the sword, it's one thing to use a sword for its proper purpose, but when you live by the sword, where all you do is push people around, all you do is control folks through violence and repression, you might end up on the wrong side of that. That should be a note for every politician and every leader around the world, including ours and here in the United States. But it's fascinating how many folks run to a guy who lived by the sword, who was hanging on honestly by a thread because of oil reserves that weren't even being tapped very well. It's kind of a remarkable thing indeed that all the peace, love, hope, and happiness comes out after the bad guy is taken into custody. But not too much of a word. Now, there have been plenty of nuanced takes I've seen where, you know, if I could use a space laser to take out Maduro myself or whatever, I would. But the U.S. getting involved in this, that's a whole other more complicated issue. Sure. And so a good question on any foreign policy move, even one you like, is what's next? But what was the Trump term that he came up with in this term? Don't be a panicking. Yeah. Don't panic. Don't be a panicking. Now, one of my favorite things that has come out of this is the idea that, and this is from the New York Times, and apparently the Washington Post and the New York Times had the scoop on this raid, on this operation, and one skill of being in media, I've learned it, as well as in intelligence services and the military and so many other sensitive operations. It's a special skill. Actually, you know, it's a required skill to know when to shut the F up. Be quiet. Keep your mouth shut. Like that is a skill, no doubt. But the New York Times said the Trump administration, you know, let me pull this up just to show you what Maduro was doing in the last few weeks. The Trump administration made the final decision to abduct Maduro after he wouldn't stop dancing in public. Again, this is according to the New York Times. It was one dance move too many for Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro, the Times reported. Mr. Maduro's regular public dancing and other displays of nonchalance in recent weeks helped persuade some of the Trump team that the Venezuelan president was mocking them and trying to call what he believed to be a bluff, according to two of the people involved in decision-making. So the White House decided to follow through with this military threat. Trump, I guess, is saying, I'm the one who dances. You don't dance, Maduro. You don't get to wear big, funny hats and shake your hips and move your arms like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Only I get to do this. Don't you dare dance to YMCA. The village people are my people. They're not your people. Don't be giving peace signs, swaying around. This is serious. I'm serious. We had a very pleasant phone call, and you're out there dancing and mocking me. I'm the one who dances. It's the DONROE doctrine. Now, I don't know how much is true about that, but too good not to be true. And I'm sure it did play a part that this guy is not taking the threats in the situation laid out by the United States seriously. So one guy who is definitely, this is his baby in many ways, is Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is the one who clearly knows the region, is the foreign policy nerd, essentially, has been for years in the Senate, and is flexing that, nerdy know-how in the job as Secretary of State. So here's Rubio that same Saturday morning. This happened, I guess, Friday night into Saturday morning, early Saturday morning, like 2 a.m. Venezuela time. And then the press conference, our time, was like, 11:30, whatever it was, noon on Saturday. Watch a good bit of it. But here is Rubio on that day explaining,
clear about one thing. Nicolás Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers, and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight. The other message here is the following. You have a guy, like many people around the world, they like to play games. You have a guy who decides he's going to invite Iran into his country, is going to, do the confiscation of American oil companies, is going to flood our country with gang members, is going to take Americans prisoner and try to hold them for hostage and trade them like he was able to do with the Biden administration. Basically likes to play games all this time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when tells you he's going to address a problem, he means it. He actions it. I can tell you, I've watched this process now for 14, 15 years, been around it. Everybody talks. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. When I get there, we're going to do this. We're going to take. This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. Because this is the way it's going to play out. And I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And, if he says he's serious about something, he means it. And this is something that was a direct threat to the national interest of the United States, and the president addressed it. There's a president of peace, by the way. I told you what I just said earlier. This guy had multiple opportunities to find his way somewhere else and figure out another. He could have been living somewhere else right now, very happy, but instead he wanted to play big boy. And so now, he's got other sets of problems on his hands. And but I think that the message here should be for the world. Look, the president doesn't go out looking for people to pick fights with. He's not generally wants to get along with everybody. We'll talk and meet with anybody, but don't play games. Don't play games with this president's in office, because it's not going to turn out well. And so I hope that, I guess that lesson was learned last night, and we hope it'll be instructive moving forward.
So don't play games, and definitely do not dance. When you're given an ultimatum and given a deal, essentially, here are your options, Nicholas, here are your options, Mr. President. And you go out and dance and you play games, Donald Trump, again, he ain't playing. He ain't playing at all. Now, Rubio, of course, did the rounds on the Sunday morning talk shows. And I remember back when these were like the thing everybody watched in order to know what's going on in the media world and the political world. It was sort of your one-stop shop for getting, the narrative, the official national narrative. But they're waning in power. They still get the courtesy of getting these big, high-profile guests like a Secretary of State or a Secretary of War and the Vice President down the line. But Rubio was clearly the point man. And again, I think this, especially the DONROE doctrine and the Latin American aspect, this is definitely Rubio's baby of a policy. And we're going to see it play out. And so, since it's Rubio's baby, he's the one who knows how to defend this baby. This is him taking on Kristen Walker of Meet the Press.
To take over the Venezuelan oil industry.
Well, we don't need to. First of all, let me go back up. We don't need Venezuela's oil. We have plenty of oil in the United States. What we're not going to allow is for the oil industry in Venezuela to be controlled by adversaries of the United States. You have to understand, why does China need their oil? Why does Russia need their oil? Why does Iran need their oil? They're not even in this continent. This is the Western Hemisphere. This is where we live. And we're not going to allow the Western Hemisphere to be a base of operation for adversaries, competitors, and rivals of the United States.
Have specific oil companies.
We also want to see that oil and the proceeds from it. Hold on. We want to see the oil proceeds of that country benefit the people of Venezuela. Mm-hmm. Why have 8 million people left Venezuela? 8 million, the single largest mass migration probably in modern history, left Venezuela since 2014, because all the wealth of that country was stolen to the benefit of Maduro and his cronies in the regime, but not to the benefit of people of Venezuela. You know how destabilizing 8 million migrants is? The number one fear that Brazil has, that Colombia has, that all these countries in the region have about what's happening in Venezuela and our involvement is they're afraid of another mass migration event. That's what they fear. This is deeply destabilizing stuff. It's not going to continue to happen. They are not going to come from outside of our hemisphere, destabilize our region in our own backyard, and us have to pay the price for it. Not under President Trump. Number one.
And now Rubio is going to go into everybody who is an armchair expert. Now, in this day and age, there are real experts, but they're kind of hard to find. And it's this old adage of it doesn't matter if you're not an expert, you end up kind of picking your expertise by choosing which experts to actually heed, listen to. And in this day and age of just instantaneous information, and you can find algorithms curated to your every desire, it's worse than just going to your favorite website. Now, everything coming at you, whether it's meant to aggravate you or affirm what you tend to believe. So you can find so-called experts that agree from every which angle for you, even though they all might disagree. So it's sometimes difficult to square exactly what's going on. But, you know, the guy who is the current Secretary of State, maybe he's wrong. Again, a great question. It's a fair question. What's next? What comes next after this? We shall see. We shall wait and we shall watch. Most of us, at least. Some of you get to play the game. Most of us are spectators. But here's Rubio taking on this sort of, everybody and their brother, especially after the catastrophes of the Bush-era wars continued by Obama. Let's listen into the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio.
Most of the experts that people have on television, I watch these experts, and it's clown hour. Okay, these are people that have focused their entire career on the Middle East or some other part of the world because that's where all the action was. Very few of them know anything about Venezuela or the Western Hemisphere. Venezuela looks nothing like Libya. It looks nothing like Iraq. It looks nothing like Afghanistan. It looks nothing like the Middle East other than the Iranian agents that are running through there plotting against America. Okay, these are Western countries with long traditions among their at a people-to-people and cultural level and ties to the United States. So there's nothing like that. So I think people need to stop ascribing the apples and oranges here, the apples of the Middle East to the oranges of the Western Hemisphere.
But do you...
Number two, this is about the national interest of the United States. And what I'm confident of is we are in a safer and better place because we're taking it seriously. The alternative would have been to leave Maduro there as an indicted drug trafficker, illegitimate president, running the country, open invitation for all of our adversaries to do whatever they want against the United States from Venezuela. That was not going to continue. The alternative would have been to allow a drug trafficker to continue to use national territory and elements of nation-state power to further drug trafficking organizations. Read the indictment. This guy used the levers of their security apparatus not to arrest drug traffickers, but to cooperate and facilitate the trafficking of drugs for the purpose of getting them into the United States. And that's going to stop.
And there are many more clips of with Stephanopoulos or Little Georgie and so many others trying to knock Rubio off his game and off his back foot. But Rubio holds his own. I think, again, the Trump administration has been signaling this sort of policy since they began. And they mean what they say. And they're willing to deal, but they're not going to sit idly by if you're just playing games and dancing in the streets. Let's go to line one. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, Joey. You might want to hang up on me. I don't know. But I would like to weigh in on the Venezuela thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about oil. It started with the Panama Canal having influence from dictators around the world and ousting them from our region.
Yep.
Right.
Correct.
And the same thing with Venezuela, pumping people and, they didn't. They ran their own people out into America.
Mm-hmm.
They're willing to go back and be successful there. But, and then on top of that, it actually spills over into Canada. You can start listening up there, Canada, or not. Or
You're right,
green.
because if
It's
Venezuelan
the whole thing.
heavy crude is brought into the United States for refineries in the Gulf Coast, Canada is going to have an issue there.
Right. But and I agree, that's a part of it. But what I'm saying is this is not a takeover for oil. Hey, you're not going to, China, Russia, Iran, you're not going to keep coming in our back door, screwing us up. That's the bigger picture.
Yeah,
Now,
no, and I think the
you-
point's well made. I got to hit a break, Robert. Appreciate you. 272-9228. If you want to get in on the conversation. Yeah, the sort of phrases of blood for oil, that smacks of propaganda and just agitation. I think oil is a crucial energy in general, not just oil, but energy, and in particular oil, are crucial aspects of foundations of power. and how you use power in the world, literally and figuratively. And so if you don't, well, keep in mind the games that are played, not just the price of it and wanting to have all of the oil or whatever. No, what you would like is oil not to be in the hands of folks who live by the sword in your own backyard and who are causing great havoc and inviting rivals to your doorstep. Probably be ill-advised to allow that to continue to fester. And, you know, it's what's nuts is so many of the Democrats, it's one thing to be a consistent anti-war voice, and you don't think the United States military should do anything without congressional authorization. That's just not how the government has worked for however long, but you can believe that, and if you're consistent in that belief, God love you. I ain't going to bother you too much. But for so many of the Democrats out there, who they themselves on tape were talking about needing to get rid of Maduro and criticizing Trump for not getting rid of Maduro last time. Like, oh, go shove it up your Chuck Schumer. What a joke. Chris Murphy, what a joke. Y'all are jokes. And so much of this is just posturing that if Trump does a thing, we have to be against it. And that is, well, part of the reality of the political game. Be right back. Hopefully I have Austin Branco on the other side.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Looking for the perfect night out? Head to Jack's Tavern, where the vibe is chill, the food is amazing, and the beer is freakishly cold. Happy hour rocks Tuesday through Thursday, 5 till 7. Then stay for dinner. You get all the great flavor of epicure in a laid-back tavern atmosphere, with the full dinner menu served till 9. Friday is live music from 7 till 10, and Saturday is for football. An extensive wine list and 58 beers on tap. Yep, 58. So grab your crew, grab a pint, and make it to Jack's Tavern. Open Tuesday through Saturday.
The new year means new resolutions, not just for your body, but for your finances as well. Did you know that financial health is directly related to your identity protection? This is why you need LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your subscription money back. Resolve to make your identity, health, and wealth part of your new.
Rich Thomas Weather is brought to you by Wiley Sanders Truck Lines.
Go to work for a family that puts God and family first. Wiley Sanders is looking for experienced dump truck drivers. Call them today, 855-777-9785. Drive for Wiley Sanders Truck Lines and be part of the family.
Rich Thomas Weather.
Hi, everybody. Not a bad forecast on this first full week of the month of January with sun and cloud mix today. A little warmer, high temperature up to about 67. Cloudy at times tonight, overnight low temperature down to about 51. Nice warm up ahead with a high around 74 tomorrow. Middle 70s on Wednesday. We're dry, partial sunshine. The next risk of isolated showers by about Thursday and a better chance on Friday. Highs in the 70s. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Budget Floors and More has the best prices. Carpet as low as 69 cents per square foot. LVP starting at $1.29 a square foot. Sheet vinyl as low as 65 cents per square foot. And the lowest prices on flooring installation supplies. Budget Floors and More across from Delray to Publix.
Live local talk. The River Region's only 24-hour News Talk FM station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Let's go right to the phones and talk with Austin Branco with Invista Advisors. Happy New Year, kind sir.
Happy New Year, Joey. Hope you guys are having a good year so far.
Yeah, so far things are going smoothly, though we've only just begun. Now, I got to get your reaction to this operation against the president of Venezuela, the capture of him now going through court, but in particular, this strategy surrounding oil and how it's going to affect maybe oil prices.
Yeah, definitely. It's on top of mind for everyone right now. And, you know, one thing I like to highlight before diving in is most of this information I received about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago from Michael McNair. I don't know if you know Michael. He's here in Montgomery. He's an analyst with RSA, and he authored a blog post, maybe 10, 15 pages long, that was laying out why we're posturing near Venezuela and striking these quote unquote cocaine boats. And a lot of people were figuring, oh, this is about drugs. They say, no, this is really about oil. And the thesis eventually gets to, it's really not about drugs or oil. It's about national security. And I encourage listeners to go out and Google Michael McNair and his most recent blog post about it, because he called this about 2 to 3 weeks before it actually happened. And I consider him a very credible source. But, effectively, Russia, China, and Iran are working together using Venezuela as a proxy to move unarmed or unmanned underwater vehicles throughout the Gulf. And they have to be recharged periodically, like every 60 to 90 days, and they are tethered to a buoy that is basically a battery, kind of like the size of a soccer ball almost. So these drug boats, his theory is these drug boats are not trafficking drugs. That is a cover-up. They are moving these batteries to replace these tethered unmanned underwater vehicles that have, missile capabilities, which is a huge threat to our sovereignty. And so I think this is more of a military play than people realize, but you can't just come out as the administration and say, hey, there's a bunch of underwater missiles somewhere floating around the Gulf that we don't know about, so we really have to go and punch Venezuela pretty hard. It's a lot easier sell to say, oh, these are drug boats and Maduro's a bad guy, let's go get him, because you don't want to panic a whole country. But I do think there's some underlying national security issues that are being overlooked. But if you read between the lines, I do think it's a lot more than just oil and drugs. But with that being said, it definitely has an immediate impact on the price of oil. XLE, which is widely regarded as the basic gas and oil company ETF, is up about 5% on the news. I don't think this holds as a long-term issue for oil prices. Venezuela and the oil reserves in that region don't make up a large amount of the greater oil that moves around the world, and really it's not a huge amount versus kind of the OPEC oil that moves. And so you may see some short-term price volatility to the upside right now, but I don't think it holds more than a month or two. So it's nice if you had XLE or if you had any of these oil names. You've got a nice little pop in the last couple of days, but I don't think it holds. So that's my take on oil as it pertains to Venezuela and Maduro. And I do think, at a bare minimum, I don't think that his agenda was good for anyone, including the Venezuelans. I think that the way that you see the cheering of Venezuelans in the U.S. and the people that have been coming out and speaking about, hey, we had to flee because of his administration. I think at the end of the day, it's a good thing, regardless of whether you attribute it to stopping drug trafficking, freeing up oil trade, and or national security. I don't think there's a bad way to look at it.
Yeah, and now I want to move to, I agree, a lot of what you just said, and could do a lot of follow-ups, but we only have so much time here, and I don't want to forget about, you mentioned to me the Federal Reserve might be quietly up to something again. Could you lay that out for folks?
Yeah, so back in December, they made a comment that if you weren't listening very closely, you may have overlooked, but they've got a term out there, RMP, Reserve Management Purchases. And it's funny to me because I try my best to be central when managing assets for people. I don't want to be too far right or left politically. I want to understand, what's really going on. And so, when the Fed mentioned that they are beginning RMPs, Reserve Management Purchases, and they started with a $40 billion per month purchase of treasury bills, short-dated treasury bills, it smelled a lot like quantitative easing. And, quantitative easing is, of course, what we used to get out of the 2008 financial crisis, the COVID crisis, and it's basically printing money and buying distressed assets. And if you go back and compare it to, say, 2008 or COVID, it's not purchasing as much treasuries or adding to the balance sheet or balance sheet expansion, as we call it, but it's about half as much. So we were purchasing about $80 billion per month during the COVID era in treasuries and an additional 40 in mortgage-backed securities during the 2008 crisis. Well, they just announced they're going to begin purchasing $40 billion per month, but they're not calling it QE. And that's the kind of sneaky part there is these are reserve management purchases. So what it does keep liquidity in the banking system, which the banking system desperately needs. At the same time that rates have begun to come down. So we have been in the last 18 to 24 months in a tightening cycle where the balance sheet has come from $9 trillion down to a little under $7 trillion, but they're beginning to expand again. And I think what you're starting to see is maybe a capitulation with Jerome and the president. I don't know how Jerome is posturing coming into May when he's almost certainly going to be replaced. But for now, just know that it means more liquidity in the market, which is better for really the consumer and borrowers. It may not be great for the balance sheet of the United States, but in the long run, I don't know if that matters anymore. Back before the Federal Reserve kind of decoupled from, a true free market, this would have been disastrous. But the Federal Reserve doesn't really operate in a free market now. It's artificially manipulated by Fed policy and monetary policy. And so with that, it's not like adding to the balance sheet is a terrible thing as long as the economy is still humming. And so just keep your ears and eyes open for this, reserve management purchase program that's out there. It's pretty quickly going to turn into quantitative easing in my mind, which is going to mean a little bit more inflation scare. I think that those hard assets continue to run up throughout the course of this year.
Folks, if you're looking for someone as well as an entire team that can help you, say, on the investment side, navigate these choppy waters of geopolitical upheaval and change, as well as the latest monetary policy moves of our central bank, or you're just looking also for long-term financial planning, you got to get with Invista Advisors. Austin Branco here runs the brokerage desk there at Invista, but they have an entire team. So whatever aspect of creating a long-term financial plan, whether you're just starting out in life, maybe building up plans for a family, you could have more end-of-life concerns or anything in between, get by and see them at Invista Advisors. And really, I would just start the conversation at 387-0094. And when you call them at 387-0094, be sure to say, hey, I heard Austin Branco on that radio show with Joey Clark.
Awesome, Joey. Well, Happy New Year, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Happy New Year. Again, folks, that's Austin Branco with Invista Advisors.
The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. The opinions expressed in this material do not necessarily reflect the views of LPL Financial. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice is offered through Invista Advisors, registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. A big announcement today from Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. He has ended his bid for a third term as governor. Less than 4 months after announcing his reelection campaign, Walz said today he can no longer devote the energy necessary to win another term and also address the multi-billion-dollar fraud scandal that's been plaguing his state. Deposed Venezuelan dictator Nicolás Maduro has declared himself to be innocent and what he calls a decent man as he pleaded not guilty today to federal drug trafficking charges in New York. Maduro told the judge today, quote, "I'm innocent, I'm not guilty, I'm a decent man." Maduro was making his first appearance in an American courtroom on the narco-terrorism charges that the Trump administration used to justify capturing him and bringing him to New York. Meanwhile, the president is vowing to revitalize oil production in Venezuela. This is SRN News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-893-2288. That's 800-893-2288.
You still thinking job change in the new year? Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy. IT? Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI. That's what I did. Really? How? Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up. Sweet. Are classes online or on campus? Both. Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefit.
From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, here's today's top stories. Montgomery police continue to investigate after a man was found dead on Eastern Boulevard. MPD responded to the 3800 block of Eastern Boulevard Thursday night, where they found an unresponsive man. The as yet unidentified victim was pronounced dead at the scene. Details are still very limited in the ongoing investigation. A man was critically injured in an early Sunday morning stabbing in Montgomery. The incident happened near Montgomery Mall in the 3500 block of McGee Place Drive, where a man was found with life-threatening injuries from a stab wound. The unidentified victim was taken to a nearby hospital in critical condition. Suspect and motive remain unknown. Governor Kay Ivey is awarding grants totaling about $44 million to assist low-income households with home energy costs. The grants will enable 18 community action agencies to provide emergency assistance to help low-income Alabama residents. The Montgomery Community Action Committee will receive $2.2 million of the funding. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
Rich Thomas Weather is brought to you by McPhillips Shinbaum.
My name is Aaron Luck, a partner with the law firm of McPhillips Shinbaum. If you or someone in your family has been seriously injured by the negligence of someone else, call me directly.
262-1911. Rich Thomas Weather.
Hi, everybody. Not a bad forecast on this first full week of the month of January, with sun and cloud mix today. A little warmer, high temperature up to about 67. Cloudy at times tonight, overnight low temperature down to about 51. Nice warm up ahead with a high around 74 tomorrow. Middle 70s on Wednesday. We're dry, partial sunshine. The next risk of isolated showers by about Thursday, and a better chance on Friday, highs in the 70s. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
The holidays may be over, but the bills don't have to weigh you down. Let ASE Credit Union help lighten your financial load with our special post-holiday loan options. Visit us online at yourasecu.com or stop by one of our branches to learn more. Terms and conditions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
Want that ride that is fun, affordable, and street legal? Check out ETG Outdoors in Montgomery. They have huge discounts on electric golf carts with many brand new units under 10 grand. New and used inventory, financing available, and they service what they sell. ETG Outdoors even provides lithium battery conversions and free delivery with purchase. Whether it's for the neighborhood, the farm, or just fun, ETG Outdoors, 7006 Vaughn Road, or online at etgoutdoors.com. Cruise smarter, drive electric. ETG Outdoors, your ride to freedom starts here.
Hi, this is Carl Schmidt, naturopath and owner of the Herb Shop. Listen every Saturday to Winning Wellness and learn from experts in different fields of science and technology how nutritional supplements can help you.
Listen to Winning Wellness every Saturday at 10 a.m.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
You officially survived the holidays, but the same can't really be said for your carpet. Instead of playing What's That Mystery Stain, why not ring in the new year while you bring in new flooring from Prattville Carpet? Get unbeatable prices during their New Year's sale, and when you purchase Mohawk Smart Strand Carpet, ask about the free upgrade to a free pet pad.
Hi, I'm Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. If you're looking for carpet, hardwood, laminate, vinyl plank, or ceramic tile, call us today for your free measurement.
Step into the new year with new floors. Shop PrattvilleCarpet.com.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Joey Clark. We'll get back to some more of the explanations from the cabinet level and the president himself. But here is just a little while ago, as Nicolás Maduro is being held in court and being arraigned, I suppose is the word. This is the Fox News reporter, what is his name? Paul Morrow, talking about Maduro and his wife pleading not guilty, but they're kind of surprised by the rights afforded to even, well, the worst international criminals. Let's listen in.
All of this stuff from the judge translated to him by an off-screen translator to ensure that he understood. He said he did. Interestingly, he said after the judge read him a version of Miranda rights and included the fact that he had the right to potentially be released on bail, Maduro said he was unaware of those rights. And it struck me that he's coming from a very different legal system, because it seemed like he had never even conjured the notion that he's entitled to an attorney, he may be able to apply for bail, and he has the right to use, to stay silent. He has the right that none of the material that he has said outside the purview of counsel necessarily has to come in. So it was interesting to see him sort of taking that in a system very different from the one I'm sure he's used to.
It is probably a wake-up call in all sorts of ways for Nicolás Maduro. Now, in a second, we'll get back to Rubio, taking on some of the Sunday morning talk hosts who are bringing up, isn't this, what's the legal basis? Isn't this an illegal operation? But first, I want to go to the Vice President of the United States. This is J.D. Vance put this out a little while ago, yesterday in the morning, saying, quote, "You see a lot of claims that Venezuela has nothing to do with drugs because most of the fentanyl comes from elsewhere." Vance says, "I want to address this. First off, fentanyl isn't the only drug in the world, and there is still fentanyl coming from Venezuela, or at least there was. Second, cocaine, which is the main drug trafficked out of Venezuela, is a profit center for all of the Latin America cartels. If you cut out the money from cocaine or even reduce it, you substantially weaken the cartels overall. Also, cocaine is bad too," says J.D. Vance. Third, yes, a lot of fentanyl is coming out of Mexico. That continues to be a focus of our policy in Mexico and is a reason why President Trump shut the border on day one. Fourth, says the vice president, I see a lot of criticisms about oil. About 20 years ago, Venezuela expropriated American oil property and until recently used that stolen property to get rich and fund their narco-terrorist activities. I understand the anxiety over the use of military force, says J.D. Vance, but are we just supposed to allow a communist to steal our stuff in our hemisphere and do nothing? Great powers don't act like that. The United States, thanks to President Trump's leadership, is a great power again. Everyone should take note. Again, that is J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States, and his take on what's been going on around the world. Now, here is Rubio being asked about, well, what's the legal basis? Are you at war with Venezuela? I mean, doesn't Congress need like some say-so in how all this goes down one way or the other? And so here's Rubio responding to the legal criticisms that are being leveled against the administration.
Require congressional approval. In fact, it couldn't require congressional approval because this was not an invasion. This is not an extended military operation. This is a very precise operation that involved a couple of hours of action. It was a very delicate operation too. It was one that required all these conditions to be in place at the right time in the right place. You couldn't afford leaks. We couldn't afford anything out there that would have endangered the mission and gotten people killed or killed off the mission and the optionality. We didn't even know if the mission was going to happen. How can you notify something you're not even sure if it can happen? Because in order for it to happen, you needed to have weather conditions in place. He needed to be at the right place at the right time. We needed to have forces prepared to go. There were a lot of factors in place. It was a trigger-based operation. But you can't notify that, number one, because you don't even know if it's going to happen, if those conditions will ever align. And number two, you can't risk it being disclosed. But this was not an attack on Venezuela. This was a law enforcement function to capture an indicted drug trafficker. And of course, we needed the Department of War to support it because they do have anti-aircraft missiles that could shoot down those helicopters.
But
we had to take down radars. We had to take down those anti-air elements on the way in and on the way out. And that's what this was limited to.
But will you seek congressional approval for any further action in Venezuela or the region?
Well, we will seek congressional approval for actions that require congressional approval, but otherwise they will get congressional notification. And this is not an operation that required congressional approval. In fact, this is an operation akin to what virtually every single president for the last 40 years has conducted. The difference is that when it's Donald Trump, all these Democrats go bonkers.
All these Democrats do indeed go bonkers. And again, just to be clear, if you're a consistent, principled anti-war voice and you think we've torn the Constitution to shreds in the last 40, 50, 60 years, whatever, maybe you're right. And I'm not going to give you all too much of a hard time. Some of my old libertarian friends are quite annoying. They're panicans. They squawk at almost everything. And sometimes I can sense behind that squawking the same animus that leads to war after war after war. Just because you're powerless doesn't mean you're actually a peacemaker. There's some folks who claim to be peacemakers who I have a sense would be just as bad, if not worse, than some of the folks they criticize in positions of power. But that's one camp, the sort of principled anti-war stance. When you're talking about the Democrats and the corporate press, they have no leg to stand on. None whatsoever. They are opportunist, they posture, and yet even in their positions of power, they project weakness. Passive-aggressive weakness. So yes, Democrats right now are going bonkers. Chuck Schumer trying to get a war powers resolution going to stop Trump from doing any more actions in Venezuela. You're seeing a lot of moves and noises being made by different Democrat senators. More than just Chuck Schumer, a lot of your Code Pink types, in the streets. Talking about the plight of the poor Venezuelan people under the boot of American imperialism, and it's all just blood for oil, right? Well, here's a montage. Let's go way back to, just a few years ago. Let's go back 10 years, 8 years, to Trump's first term. This was put together, and let's just hear what folks were saying. Remember, Trump was a Putin puppet and loved dictators at that point.
Even in Latin America, the same pattern. While U.S. public support for Venezuela's self-declared interim president Juan Guaido seems to have diminished, strongman Nicolás Maduro is still in power as Russia's support for him remains steadfast, sending a clear message to the world of America in retreat and Vladimir Putin filling the void. And it's remarkable because Vladimir Putin isn't even that popular here in Russia right now because of the bad economic situation and a botched pension reform. So these foreign policy gifts that he keeps getting from President Trump not only make him stronger abroad, but also help keep him in power here in Russia as well, Brianna. All
right, Fred, thank you.
If you're just out there listening, this is 2019.
So much for that report. Okay, so, one of the arguments the president makes is that these places are thousands of miles away. The U.S. doesn't need to involve itself. And hey, if Russia is going to get involved, so be it.
Part of what President Putin's been doing is looking for spots in the world where there is a leadership vacuum and an opening to have influence.
Everyone who knows anything about foreign policy tells you that there's an impact when a global power like the United States is led by someone who actively says we need to pull back. We don't need to be defending these people. Where were they, in the Peloponnesian Wars, whatever.
But I think they underestimate the damage that Russia can do
just by sowing chaos and by supporting authoritarians. We've seen this in Europe. So that it's not a China type competitor, but the world can get a heck of a lot more dangerous if Russia helps authoritarianism, doesn't mind the spread of weapons of mass destruction, nuclear weapons.
Russia's free press.
Russia's free press shows other authoritarians how to do this.
Why is he so susceptible to this kind of message coming from?
I mean, likes authoritarian thugs. To them, I probably know him and flatter him. There's an element whenever any leader of state or even high-level diplomatic officials meeting with another country where they are flattering you and they're trying to kind of get you on good terms. Trump is very susceptible to that.
So
and
Putin
I think
seems to have a special. Putin seems to have special.
Maybe he has
clout with Trump.
Even in Latin America, the same pattern. While U.S. public support for Venezuela's self-declared interim president Juan Guaido seems to have diminished, strongman Nicolás Maduro is still in power as Russia's support for him remains steadfast.
Most of this is just posturing, folks. Most of it's just posturing. So that's all the way back in 2019. And because Trump loves Putin so much, he's a Putin puppet. And he loves dictators, and he falls for the flattery of dictators. This is why they pulled support from Guaido, and Maduro's still going strong. Or it could be it wasn't the opportune time. Perhaps. And perhaps what the Trump administration was trying to do it didn't work out at that moment. It's working out now. It's fascinating how the elected, in particular, not just talking heads like you just heard from CNN, but elected Democrats across the board on so many of the issues this President Trump has pursued, once agreed with him. They once agreed with him on the border and immigration and on crime. They once agreed with him on trade even. And they once agreed with him on taking out Nicolás Maduro. In fact, I believe the Biden administration had a bounty on Maduro's head. Were they actually going to do anything about it? Probably not. And maybe this is why Maduro was dancing in the streets trying to call President Trump's bluff, because despite all the noises made by U.S. presidents and senators and U.S. media interest and whatnot over years, nobody had touched Maduro and what he was up to. Well, again, Trump is not playing. And just to get a little silly, because this next guy I'm going to play, actually, I got a couple of guys to play. This is a man in a skirt. He's wearing, it's not a kilt. I'll allow kilts. And honestly, you can do whatever you want, man. You can wear a skirt if you want to. But this is a man in a skirt. And I guess these are just professional protesters, because if anything at all happens in the world, they're ready to go with megaphones and signage and all sorts of slogans and chants. It is remarkable how certain people mobilize so quickly. But just listen in. This is something that you might see on the streets.
With me, y'all. Hands up, Venezuela!
What? Like it's Michael Brown or something?
Hands up, Venezuela! Free President Maduro!
Free President Maduro! I guess he's taking hormones. His voice might have changed.
La lucha sigue!
Yeah! What did you just call me?
Libertad, socialismo o muerte! Venceremos! With me, y'all.
That's just some of what you get these days. Well, but here's another one. This one is, of course, in Minneapolis. And this guy's not wearing a dress or a skirt or whatever the heck that other guy was wearing, but he might as well be. And I think he's going to complain here. And again, this is in Minneapolis, some leftist group, that they're going to destroy the memory of the hero, Hugo Chavez. They're going to destroy Chavez's memory. I think it kind of deserves to be destroyed. And I'm a little tired of the leftists and the socialists in the United States supporting thugs who live by the sword all over the world. Here is another example of what you're going to get.
Chavez made sure that millions of kids who never had access to education would.
Yeah, he did.
He did seized the property of U.S. companies. He seized the oil and money for the Venezuelan oil, nationalized the oil to pay for social services. The quality of life for the poor in Venezuela skyrocketed.
Yeah, they did.
And today, the U.S. empire bombed his grave. They want to destroy the memory of the hero, Hugo Chavez. Viva Chavez!
Now, I don't think those folks are really running things. And maybe they're not representative of certain folks in power for the Democrats. But it's not that far off from a lot of the opportunistic posturing that you're going to see. Those guys, if you can call them guys loosely, they're idealists, which means they're dumbasses. But, takes all types in this world. Maybe they're good at, making a macchiato or something. Everybody's got a role in this world and needs a little bit of love. But, man, shut up about your politics. You're just annoying us at this point. Again, 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. Now, this has been making the rounds on X, and since I can hear them grinding the parking lot down right outside this wall to my left, I'm going to jump in and play this clip. It's from a local citizen journalist in Venezuela, and his message is, it's not about the oil. It's not about the oil at all. Let's listen in to this gentleman.
So this is the comment I keep seeing. Oil. They don't care about Maduro. They want the oil. Oil is the goal. It's all about oil. Oil, oil, oil. Okay, so let's talk about that. Venezuela has the largest oil reserves on Earth. Its reserves are 13% bigger than Saudi Arabia's. But not all oil is the same. Saudi oil is light and easy to refine. Venezuelan oil is extremely heavy, thick, difficult to process, and only certain refineries in the world can handle it. Oil was discovered in Venezuela in the 1920s, and the US was immediately involved. American oil companies literally built Venezuela's oil industry because the country didn't have the infrastructure or the technology to do so. At the time, Venezuela was a poor country with an agrarian economy. It was mostly coffee and cacao plantations. There were no petroleum engineers, no heavy machinery, zero knowledge on how to run a global oil industry. But by 1928, with lots of help from US oil companies, Venezuela was one of the world's top exporters. Overnight, Venezuela became one of the richest countries in the world. During the 1970s, Arab states imposed an oil embargo on the United States because of its support of Israel. This led global oil prices to explode, soaring from $1.80 a barrel to over $11 a barrel, a 500% increase. That crisis shook the entire world economy. That is, except for Venezuela, which suddenly saw billions of dollars worth of oil revenue entering its state coffers. And right after that, in 1975, Venezuela nationalized its oil industry and created PDVSA, Petróleos de Venezuela, or Venezuelan Petroleum, the state-owned company that still exists today. But even after the nationalization of its oil industry, Venezuela still needed the US. Why? Because the US Gulf Coast has huge refineries built specifically for heavy crude, the type of oil that sits under Venezuela. And this arrangement benefited both sides. Venezuela, a country roughly the size of Texas, doesn't have anywhere near the refining infrastructure needed to process hundreds of thousands of barrels of heavy crude oil per day. Venezuela's own refineries can only handle a fraction of what the country extracts, so US refineries processed it. Venezuela got billions in revenue, and American companies profited from the refining operations. Everyone had a reason to keep the partnership going. But without heavy crude, those US refineries struggle. They literally hunger for Venezuelan oil. Now, there's this big misconception that Hugo Chavez, the populist and self-proclaimed socialist president of Venezuela, who died in 2013, took back the industry from the US private interests that controlled it. But that's simply not true. Chavez became hostile to the US politically, yes, but he still depended on the US market. Venezuelan oil continued flowing to American refineries, and Chavez took advantage of the largest oil boom in history, gaining access to billions of dollars in oil revenue. What Chavez did do was purge PDVSA, the state oil company. He fired thousands of expert workers and replaced them with loyalists. Corruption exploded, production collapsed, and the economy imploded.
It's like a frickin' Ayn Rand novel.
When Chavez died in 2013, he handpicked this man, Nicolás Maduro, as his successor. Maduro inherited a country that was collapsing economically and made it worse, much worse. By 2017, 76 out of 84 PDVSA plants were paralyzed. Venezuela's oil production fell to 20% of its total capacity. Now, I can already hear you in the comments saying, that's because of sanctions. But no, not yet at least. Before 2019, US sanctions only targeted individual Venezuelan officials, human rights abusers, narco-traffickers, and corrupt elites. Venezuela was still completely free to sell its oil to the United States. And it did. The first oil sanctions only came in 2019, under Trump's first presidency. He basically imposed an embargo on PDVSA, the Venezuelan state oil company. Ironically, this hurt US companies too, because they lost access to the heavy crude that their refineries are specifically built for. So why sanction PDVSA if American companies hated it? Well, because Maduro suspended elections and was consolidating a dictatorship in Venezuela. The sanctions weren't about oil, they were about politics. It was a move to support the political opposition in Venezuela, which had won an election that Nicolás Maduro refused to accept. So where does that leave us right now? 6 years later, Maduro is completely broke and running out of options. They rely on drug trafficking and illicit activities to survive. Maduro, more than Trump, funnily enough, desperately wants the US companies to reestablish their operations in Venezuela. 2 weeks ago, Maduro even offered Trump all of Venezuela's resources, including all the oil, and also to reduce economic ties with China and Russia if Trump would just leave him alone. So if it was just about oil, Trump could have just accepted Maduro's offer, but he didn't. So no, it's not just about oil. Oil is just a piece of the story, but it's not the whole story. And you might be thinking, okay, Alex, but if it's not about oil, what is it about? Why is the US about to attack Venezuela? And if you did think that, thank you for asking, because I'll break that down in my next videos.
Oh, what a perfect tease, but actually really great stuff there from a local Venezuelan reporter. Citizen journalism for the win. Well, just ask Tim Walz. Nick Shirley ended that guy's political career. This part of the program brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage, and there at Alabama Home Mortgage, Kim Williams and Madeline Cannon are ready to help you buy a home or refinance your home as we enter into the new year. And if you're thinking now's the time to at least start the conversation, start the process of buying or refining, well, get in touch with them and just start that conversation at 567-4223. That's 567-4223. And it could be before you jump around on Zillow and then hop in the car and go look at places. Hey, don't skip the first step. Call Alabama Home Mortgage and get pre-approved so you can understand how much home you can afford. Sellers are going to take you much more seriously. If you don't do pre-approval, you're setting yourself up for a headache and heartbreak, most likely. But of course, they will walk with you there at Alabama Home Mortgage from pre-approval all the way to closing day. And if you're looking to refinance, to get credit card debt off your back, consolidate debt in general, looking to bring down monthly overhead cost, or reinvest in yourself, your family, or go on that dream vacation you always wanted to go on, it's your money. They can help you meet your goals with a great refinance deal. So check them out today. Again, that number, 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or you can apply online at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies like Kim and Madeline. Prove that to you today. NMLS number 1586368. Equal housing lender.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. At PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 specials. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
This is your roving reporter. Today I'm talking with a prospector.
That's right, man. I'm prospecting for gold. You dig?
No, but it looks like you do.
And you know the first thing I'm going to do when I strike it rich?
What's that?
I'm going to hire David Ernest to be my money man.
You mean everyone's favorite asset preservationist?
That is correct, man. I'm going to call him up at 833-596-7233. 833-596-SAFE.
You know, I've heard a lot of the good things about David Ernest.
You know, he's the best money man around with over 40 years of experience.
Experience is necessary, especially when you're digging for gold.
That's right, man.
And I can see that you don't have very much experience.
What do you mean, man?
Well, you have the little plastic bucket and shovel like a kid would take to the beach.
Yeah, man. Well, I want to start out small and then kind of pace myself up until I strike it rich.
Well, maybe you should call David Ernest first.
You think he's got a shovel?
Never know till you ask.
I dig, man.
Did you know that 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by February? Did you know there's a good chance it's just hormones? Hi, I'm Evan Bass, founder of Montgomery Men's Health, and I started this clinic to take care of men. If your testosterone is low, then motivation, energy, and drive often follow too. And keeping resolutions can feel like walking through mud. Even more so as we age, these things tend to get worse if untreated. Guys, you're not alone. Your urologist-led support team at Montgomery Men's Health has your back. For years, we've effectively treated ED and low T comprehensively and with proven treatments dialed in just for you. With same-day booking, you can meet our passionate team, and by this afternoon, you'll leave with a plan that's designed to be sustainable for life. The number one thing we hear guys say is, I forgot how I used to feel. Guys, it's time to feel amazing and crush this new year. Call my team right now and let us treat you to an unforgettable experience. Dial 334-440-3663 or go to montgomerymenshealth.com. montgomerymenshealth.com.
This is Jennifer Pestricelli, General Sales Manager and co-owner of Blue Water Broadcasting, and we're powering up our sales team. If you're a go-getter who loves meeting people, closing deals, and helping local businesses win, this is your moment. You'll develop broadcast and digital advertising campaigns, prospect for new clients, and manage your own list of accounts, all in a fast-paced, creative environment. Outside sales experience is a huge plus. Media experience is even better. Ready to level up your career? Send me your resume today by going to bluewaterbroadcasting.com.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
The Rich Thomas Weather Network, brought to you by Montgomery Paint and Body. From little fender benders to total body repair, MPB will fix it good as new, maybe better. For 4 decades, the Turner family has been getting you back on the road. Call 279-7325.
Rich Thomas Weather.
Hi, everybody. Not a bad forecast on this first full week of the month of January with sun and cloud mix today. A little warmer, high temperature up to about 67. Cloudy at times tonight, overnight low temperature down to about 51. Nice warm up ahead with a high around 74 tomorrow, middle 70s on Wednesday. We're dry, partial sunshine. The next risk of isolated showers by about Thursday and a better chance on Friday, highs in the 70s. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
CB&S Bank has a long history of stability and a legacy of serving our community's needs for generations since we began in 1906. At CB&S Bank, we're here for you. All loans subject to credit approval, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
On FM, on your smartphone, and online, the River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Clark.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Joey Clark. Yeah, I was just looking on X, and Coach Tommy Tuberville Soon to be Governor Tuberville is having way too much fun. Way too much fun putting all this egg in Democrat faces. In fact, it is Tommy Tuberville on X that brought to my attention. This is a Joe Biden message put out in 2020. Trump talks tough on Venezuela, but admires thugs and dictators like Nicolás Maduro. As president, I will stand with the Venezuelan people and for democracy. So Joe Biden, steals the White House in 2020. And did he do anything, Maduro? Did he stand with the Venezuelan people? Tuberville reacting to that, saying, whoops, and now every Democrat is denouncing an operation to execute a federal warrant while we slept. Democrats have no principles. It's about whatever way the left wind is blowing to gain power. Yesterday's margaritas with Kilmar Abrego Garcia is today's Maduro. They'll support a drug trafficking dictator because this was another Trump win. Guaranteed. And that is exactly what's been thrown out there. Now let's turn to Alabama's other senator. This is Katie Britt reacting to Democrat hypocrisy on Fox News. He said,
says he's serious about something, he means it. And this is something that was a direct threat to the national interest of the United States, and the president addressed it. There's a president of peace, by the way. I told you what I just said earlier. This guy had multiple opportunities to find his way somewhere else and figure out another. He could have been living somewhere else right now, very happy, but instead he wanted to play big boy. And so now, he's got other sets of problems on his hands. And but I think the message here should be for the world. Look, the president doesn't go out looking for people to pick fights with. He's not generally wants to get along with everybody. We'll talk and meet with anybody, but don't play games. Don't play games with this president's in office because it's not going to turn out well.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says he hopes the world learns that President Trump isn't all talk when he warns he'll take action against any threat to the United States of America. Let's bring in Alabama Senator Katie Britt, a member of the Judiciary Committee. Senator, thank you so much for joining us. Give us your top line, what you saw, what you believe, and also your understanding of what this indictment really does and the justification for the United States taking the action that it did.
Absolutely. Well, I think Secretary Rubio said it best. Look, when this president talks, when he tells people what he's going to do, he means it. And unlike President Biden, he's going to follow through. Look, there is no doubt that Venezuelans have a greater opportunity for prosperity because of President Trump's actions. There is no doubt that Americans are safer and more secure because of President Trump's actions. I am so grateful that we finally have a commander-in-chief that is willing to put the safety and security of this country first, put it front and center. And Jason, when you're thinking about the contrast from the previous administration, it couldn't be greater. Here you have President Biden, who was all talk and yet no action. If you remember less than a year ago, on January 10th, when you had Senate Democrats coming out and saying that this was a sham inauguration of Maduro, and you had them asking the Trump administration when they came into office to hold Maduro's feet to the fire, you also had President Biden raising the bounty to $25 million on Maduro's head. So it is really rich that you hear Democrats now saying, well, what's next? You actually wanted this to happen back when you were in charge, but you didn't have the moxie to get it done. And at the end of the day,
I translate that into a dude. They didn't have the balls. They didn't. Because it might cause problems we can't predict, and we love to be able to predict everything while promising everybody heaven and earth.
President Trump means that he will tell you what he's going to do, and then he's actually going to deliver on it. Look, I could not be more grateful for our men and women in uniform, our courageous military, and our law enforcement officers who perfectly executed the mission. This is yet again, we've seen a flawless execution of the most difficult mission, just like we saw in Operation Midnight Hammer under under President Trump's leadership. So I am grateful that we are now learning what American strength is. We are seeing it in action. And gone are the days of talk. And now we're putting American safety and security first and foremost. And as for him having his day in court, he's going to have it, Jason, and justice will be served. I believe in that. And when you look at what happened to Jocelyn Nungary, when you look at what happened to Laken Riley, look, I can guarantee you that their parents wish that President Biden had the backbone that President Trump did, because their children may still be here today. So whether it is that or the actual narco-terrorism that has ravished this country, I've sat in front of too many parents who lost their children either to a fentanyl poisoning or a drug overdose. And President Trump said, I'm not only going to talk about ending that, I'm going to do what it takes to make it happen.
Again, that's United States Senator from Alabama, lives here in Montgomery, Katie Britt, taking on this issue and praising, of course, the president for his actions. And while I'm thinking about it, there's a write-up here from April Marie Fogel about how local media hype anti-Trump Venezuela protests by socialist groups here in the great state of Alabama. April Marie writes that local media throughout the state devoted wall-to-wall coverage on Saturday to the protest against Trump's use of the military to arrest Venezuela dictator Nicolás Maduro and his wife. All three major news stations in Huntsville, covered a single quote-unquote emergency protest, identifying at least four groups as hosts of the event, carrying signs saying, "Hands off and no war in Venezuela." 36 men and women marched from Big Spring Park up to and around the Madison County Courthouse Saturday afternoon, protesting the U.S. attack on Venezuela and an abduction of President Nicolás Maduro and his wife. Huntsville's WAAY 31 ABC opened their story. The image in the story shows one protester wearing a kifa or whatever it is, and another holding a sign reading, "Is it oil or is it Epstein?" Fox 54 also covered the Huntsville protests, explaining that the event was organized by the Party for Socialism and Liberation and 501. I don't know what it said exactly. That's the organization that held the No Kings anti-Trump protest in Hunts Vegas last year. Meanwhile, WAFF 48 reported that members of Indivisible, 501, and Democratic Socialist of America participated in the event. In Birmingham, ABC 3340, WBRC 6, and WVTM 13 also covered the protest. The Birmingham chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America, Alabama 501, and Food Not Bombs Birmingham, the Birmingham branch of the Party for Socialism and Liberation, and other local groups gathered at the 5 Points South Fountain, ABC 3340 reported. One protester said, "The working class people of America will never have enough money to fight back against political leaders, but there is power in numbers, which is why they protested," said WVTM 13. Images and videos show multiple individuals wearing kifias or whatever that is. Jose Sanchez, with Students for International Labor Solidarity, told WBRC 6, "We're here in support of Venezuelan brothers from across Latin America, standing in solidarity for them and condemning this action of violence against them." So, yeah, I've got it there on the stream. That's a bunch of Alabama local media covering, what, a couple dozen people voicing their concerns. It's amazing, though. It's like everything the man does is an opportunity to protest, and it just confirms your priors. Perhaps you're not seeing the world objectively. Perhaps. Maybe none of us are. Who knows? I suspect that this sort of hysteria shouldn't even be a news story at this point, but here we are. That's a little bit of the local Alabama reaction. And, you know, the Alabama delegation splits Republican Democrat on this. You get a lot of folks, all the Republican delegation loving it. And then, of course, Terry Sewell and Shabari Figures, Congress representatives in the House of Representatives, they don't like it. They don't like it one bit. And it's probably like illegal to do something like this. What we do is we put bounties on people's heads and we issue warrants and indictments, but then we don't do anything about it. We wait Do they turn themselves in? Good plan. Didn't work for years. And yet y'all took the same opportunity when Trump realized, backing Guaido probably wasn't the best route. Then you said he just loves dictators like Maduro. It's interesting how, well, things keep happening, and I think it is fair. And I don't say this with a partisan voice, but it's fair on any operation that's ongoing, like taking on the drug cartel networks in Latin America. What's next? What's the plan? I don't expect the president or his team to lay out every hop, skip, and jump every step along the way. That would be foolish. But I hope and pray that you are thinking about what's next and seeing many paths to victory through. Because occasionally the enemy does get a vote, and you don't want to be caught flat-footed. You need, when one path is cut off, you need another path to help you actually see the policy through. And 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. Another local story I want to hit here real quick. I thought it was going to be a competitive race for Secretary of State here in the great state of Alabama as we head into 2026, but Alabama State Auditor Andrew Sorrell qualified to run for re-election on Monday. Andrew Sorrell told 1819 News he was ending his candidacy for Secretary of State. Well, congratulations, Caroline Dobson. He said, quote, "I've determined that I can best serve my fellow Alabamians by giving them an experienced and committed state auditor with a proven track record of defending taxpayers and protecting the dollars they send to Montgomery." Sorrell continues saying, "I'll continue fighting for accountability in state government and promoting the values that earned me national recognition as the most conservative official in the Alabama State House." With Sorrell's departure from the Secretary of State's race, Caroline Dobson is the remaining announced candidate in the Republican primary. So again, I say congratulations to Caroline Dobson. And now the state auditor race gets more crowded. Other Republicans are seeking the Republican nomination. Derek Chin, who I like very much, found the show, I like Derek a lot, and Josh Pendergrass. I haven't heard from him sec, but I enjoyed my conversation with him several months back. But that is a little bit surprising to see Andrew Sorrell, who is quite the campaigner and fundraiser, decide, you know what? Let's just stay, or try to stay, seek re-election in the position I'm already in for the state of Alabama. So that opened up one race. Now, in a second, I want to get into more of the, well, what questions we might need to be asking in 2026 when it comes to Alabama politics. It's not an exhaustive list. It's not like all the questions that could ever come to mind. Like, and honestly, I only have so much column space. It's not like I can do 10 different questions. Like, it's got to be like around 1,000 words, folks. Attention spans are short these days. But how about this? Let's hit a break. We'll be right back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values.
Kick off 2026 with a money-saving deal at the River Region's top pizza buffet. Pizza Perfect. In January, get $5 off any large pizza. No matter how many toppings, you'll save $5. Pizza Perfect's buffet includes pizza as well as spaghetti, breadsticks, salad, dessert, and drink for only $13. The buffet is available Monday through Saturday for lunch and for dinner on Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. In January, get $5 off any large pizza at Pizza Perfect, Coliseum Boulevard in Eastbrook, available for carryout and delivery.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
When news happens, you'll hear about it first. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Let's go right to the phones and talk to Michael Cohen with Cohen's Electronics and Appliances. Hey, Michael, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I think my day was made when I saw a New York Times story that the final straw for Trump and team to actually arrest and take into custody Nicolás Maduro is that Maduro was dancing too much.
Oh.
And he was. There's video evidence of him just dancing, having a good old time. And Trump's like, I'm the one who dances. You don't dance. And, well, we see that Trump means what he says. But, hey, what's the score there today, Cohen?
It feels like it's like 50-0.
Oh, right.
We sold some TVs to a nice lady last week, and she was happy. We got it delivered on Saturday, and turns out she came in today. She's buying another one. Last week it was a 75. Today it's a 85. We're going to deliver to her again this Saturday.
Nice.
So, I tell you, it's just so nice that these customers just come in and they have the confidence and they just buy.
Well,
and a lot of times they've done their own research and they're buying what they think that they want. You know, they let you ask them a few questions, but everything is all good. But it's the confidence that they have from all their past purchases. And this particular person had dealt with my dad for many years with her husband, and now, you know, they're dealing with me and David. And so, I mean, it's all good. And I mean, we're just blessed.
Well, and I was about to say, y'all inspire confidence in many ways and across generations. Really, Cohen's Electronics and Appliances, folks, is a true institution. And let's just be clear, y'all are not, you will not be beat on price, and nobody can beat y'all on service.
That's right. That's right. You know, service is one of those deals that it means so much more when it's too late. you know, somebody saved $10 here or there, and then they call for service, and then then they need to call wherever they purchased it from, because you know, currently we only service what we sell, and at that point it's too late for them to go back and have bought it from us.
So instead of being too late, do it right the first time at Cohen's Electronics and Appliances. You can always shop online at thinkcohens.com, but I suggest stopping by 2515 Eastern Boulevard here in Montgomery. Get to know Michael and the team there in person. Of course, they're open 9 to 6 Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 on Saturdays. And when you get to know the team, be sure to tell them at some point that you heard Michael on that radio show with that Joey Clark fella.
That's right. That's right. You know, my phone says Eddie Bader.
Yeah.
When this number calls, I'm going to have to change it to not Eddie Bader.
So he's back in town. He's putting together some loose ends to start the new year after doing the long vacation. So he should be here tomorrow and much of the rest of the week. But today, as I started the show at about 12:07 this afternoon, I got a photo that's with a caption that said "Never Forget." And it's Eddie Bader wearing a fake mullet with a trucker hat, and he's in a skimpy American flag Speedo.
Yeah, I'm glad he sent that to you and not me.
Yeah, and I've yet to share it with the world, but I think this is was that an intimidation thing he's trying to do there? I don't know what that is exactly.
I don't know. He may need some Dramamine or Pepto, but no.
Oh, it just reminds me to get back in the weight room. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
he says, you sure have a pretty mouth. But
well, I've seen what you consider pretty. I don't know about that. Anyway, I appreciate it as always, Michael, and Happy New Year, man.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
No. And that's Michael Cohen with Cohen's Electronics and Appliances. Be sure to tell him that Joey sent you.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Deposed Venezuelan dictator Nicolás Maduro declares himself to be innocent, called himself a decent man today as he pleaded not guilty to federal drug trafficking charges. The courtroom appearance today, Maduro's first, since he and his wife were seized from their home in a stunning middle-of-the-night military operation over the weekend. It kicks off the U.S. government's most consequential prosecution in decades of a foreign head of state. Shares of major U.S. companies in the energy sector are sharply higher after President Trump announced plans to take control of Venezuela's oil industry and said American companies would revitalize it after they captured Maduro over the weekend. In fact, Venezuela enjoys the world's largest proven reserves of oil, but it has fallen into disrepair in the last couple of decades under communist rule. This is SRN News.
It's Mike Gallagher wishing you a happy new year. If you're like most people, this is the week you look at your budget and think, all right, time to get things under control. Here's one of the smartest ways to start 2026. Call my friends at Fellowship Home Loans. They can help lower your monthly mortgage payment. And yes, you can still skip your next 2 payments. Imagine not making a mortgage payment in January or February. That's how you create real financial breathing room. If you need some cash to pay off high interest credit cards from the holidays, a cash out refinance might just be perfect for you. And if you prefer a line of credit, Fellowship's new fixed rate HELOC gives you funds fast with a rate that never changes. Start the year on solid footing. I've used Fellowship personally. I trust these guys. Before the January bills hit, go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/MikeG, fellowshiphomeloans.com/MikeG, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453, fellowshiphomeloans.com/MikeG. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819.
Rich Thomas Weather is brought to you by McPhillip Schimbaum.
My name is Aaron Luck, a partner with the law firm of McPhillip Schimbaum. If you or someone in your family has been seriously injured by the negligence of someone else, call me directly.
262-1911. Rich Thomas Weather.
Hi, everybody. Not a bad forecast on this first full week of the month of January with sun and cloud mix today. A little warmer, high temperature up to about 67. Cloudy at times tonight, overnight low temperature down to about 51. Nice warm up ahead with a high around 74 tomorrow. Middle 70s on Wednesday. We're dry, partial sunshine. The next risk of isolated showers by about Thursday and a better chance on Friday, highs in the 70s. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
1819 News.
Republican congressional delegates from Alabama are now praising President Trump for the recent capture and extradition of Venezuelan dictator Nicolás Maduro to the U.S. Maduro and his wife were both arrested for narco-terrorist activity against the U.S. Congressman Robert Aderholt points out that Maduro has been charged with narco-terrorism for 5 years now, and justice is overdue. Congressman Mike Rogers called Maduro an illegitimate leader of the country of Venezuela. Both U.S. Senators Tommy Tuberville and Katie Britt say that the actions of the Trump administration is helping to save countless American lives from illegal drugs, as well as serve as a deterrent for any other country seeking to threaten the U.S. Democrat Congresswoman Terry Sewell agrees that Maduro is a corrupt and illegitimate leader, but she's also highly critical of Trump's action in Venezuela, saying it was reckless and done without congressional approval. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Did you know that 70% of people experience a potentially traumatic event in their lifetime, and that 6 out of every 100 adults face PTSD every day? Help us bring hope to these survivors by signing up for your Alabama Distinctive PTSD Awareness License Plate today. The great thing is you can sign up no matter when your current plate renews, and the first year is complimentary. All you need is your VIN number on hand. Drive awareness, drive hope, and customize your plate today at atease.org.
3 suspects have been arrested as part of Birmingham's first murder for 2026. One of the 3 arrested is 15 years old. The shooting victim has been identified as 33-year-old Morgan Brown. Investigators say that Brown was found inside a vehicle after he was apparently robbed and then shot. The city of Mobile has issued its horse policy for parades as the Mardi Gras season approaches. Those riding horses in the parade must undergo a free mandatory horsemanship training session and also meet certain weight standards in proportion to their horses. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take DayQuil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the DayQuil.
Undo your flu symptoms with DayQuil Intense Flu. DayQuil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
DayQuil Intense Flu. The daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu, medicine. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Now, as we head into 2026, a few questions come to mind. But let's frame this right. I said to them, "What is the high place to which you go?" So its name is called Bama to this day. That's Ezekiel 20:29. So as we head into 2026, a few questions come to mind in regards to the great state of Alabama. Though I am the one asking the questions here, I neither pretend to possess any prophetic insight or provide any definitive technical answers. That is not my style, nor is it, thank God, my prerogative alone. All Alabamians, for better or worse, must wrestle with their own answers regarding our state's fate in light of our past, especially whether the laws, rules, and institutions we have inherited have been good to us and we good to them. So consider the following 5 questions simply as pokes and prods for the people of Alabama to ponder as we enter yet another election year. In 2026, voters will hear from many politicians vying for Bama's high places on where we should go and what we should do, and we should be prepared accordingly. Question 1. Is Kay Ivey really a legacy governor? A recent opinion has flowered among longtime watchers of Alabama politics that Governor Kay Ivey is a quote-unquote legacy governor. Though such matters are always up for debate, I sniff a whiff of flattery at play. Though everyone leaves a legacy, especially governors of states, I can't help but think Ivey's legacy will not be long remembered by many, except perhaps prisoners. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Though it is quite easy to lower standards to shoehorn in a flowery honorific on Ivey's behalf, I prefer to have a much tighter standard when it comes to historic leadership. Indeed, the only legacy governor that comes to my mind in recent Alabama history is George Wallace. For better or worse, that man was larger than life. All other modern Alabama governors may have done some good things and left some sort of legacy, including raising gas taxes to fund infrastructure projects. But I say we should expect a little more of our leaders before we award them high honorifics on their way out the door. Question 2. Why are Alabama Power's rates so high? This question has been percolating for years in Alabama, another legacy of George Wallace, by the way, and has only become more pressing after years of high inflation across the national economy. Though Alabama Power recently chose to freeze rates for 2 years through 2027, many folks continue to wonder why the energy monopoly receives such generous returns on equity above the national average while also having the highest power rates in the Southeast. I'm glad to see Alabama Power freezing rates for 2 years through 2027, but moving forward, we have to focus on cutting regulations, Senator Tommy Tuberville said in a video released in December of 2025. Tuberville continued by saying Alabama has the opportunity to lead the nation recruiting new manufacturing and jobs while focusing on a lower cost of living for our citizens and providing them with more opportunities for a higher standard of living. That all starts with energy dominance. Perhaps before the freeze thaws in 2 years, I'm just spitballing here, there should be a simple rule change that requires Alabama Power to be at or below the regional average when it comes to cost charged for fuel, plant operations, purchases from other companies, regulatory compliance, and guaranteed rate of return. Perhaps such a rule is unfeasible for technical or political reasons. I do not know, but one way or the other, something has to give. As Senator Katie Britt told 1819 News in November of 2025, look, we have the highest power rates in the Southeast. I think that is unacceptable. I think when you're looking at the fact that we are working so hard to make sure that we are rolling back regulation and that we are creating an opportunity not just for energy independence, but truly energy dominance, we want to make sure that is passed on to the consumer. We'll see. Will it be passed on? Question 3. Is Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alabama best serving the people by being allowed to dominate the state health insurance market? The question of how to handle high healthcare costs, especially rising premiums, continues to be a nationwide lament beyond just Alabama. However, given Blue Cross Blue Shield's dominant position in the Alabama market, Alabamians should be open to new ideas and encourage their elected officials to shoot for the moon to improve the situation. Some reforms might help indirectly, such as an overhaul of the Certificate of Need regulations in Alabama. Other reforms might seek to inject competition, such as State Senator Arthur Orr's bill in the 2025 session to allow for Alpha to create self-funded health plans for its members. Despite Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alabama's protests to the contrary, the insurance company continues to be questioned, as a dominant player should, for its rate of denials on in-network claims, as well as its reimbursement rates to certain hospitals. I believe the Jackson Group that now represents Jackson Hospital is in fact suing Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alabama for just that. We'll see what the courts actually decide. Question 4. Why are some power brokers in Alabama so dissatisfied with the current slate of U.S. Senate candidates? Several candidates have now entered the U.S. Senate race for the GOP nomination to fill the seat vacated by Tuberville, including Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall, Congressman Barry Moore, Jared Hudson, Morgan Murphy, and even Rodney Walker. Though I usually refuse to endorse anyone in a race, I will endorse the current field. No matter who wins the primary among those gentlemen, it's a win for the conservative voters of Alabama. Yet, some in Alabama seem to disagree. They, whoever they may be, floated Bruce Pearl, then Paul Feinbaum to no avail, and are now courting Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth to run for the open seat. And though I have nothing at all personal against Ainsworth joining the race, though it would somewhat contradict past statements about his own ambition, I find myself wondering why the current field isn't quite pleasing enough to certain interests in Alabama. It serves as yet another reminder that many choices are made behind the scenes before the people of Alabama ever get a choice at the ballot box. Politics is a game of elites, even in Alabama, and too often a game of high places. Question 5. How might God judge the state of Alabama? I hesitate to give an answer to this question. I am no Ezekiel, LOL. However, I will echo to the people of Alabama that we should forever avoid high places of idolatry, especially in politics, no matter if its name is called Bama to this day. Let us in Bama, Alabama, pray God will answer our questions with wisdom, so we may know where we should go and what we should do, and that we don't lead ourselves astray. Again, those are just a few questions. Maybe you might be asking yourself, find your own answers, think it through yourself. But whether you're looking at the legacy of an outgoing leader, you're looking at two Leviathan institutions, behemoths in Alabama Power and Blue Cross Blue Shield, or you're watching the behind-the-scenes machinations of folks trying to get their exact Senate candidate they want to back. In the back of your mind should be, well, when we ask for wisdom and pray for wisdom, it might be granted, and if we truly believe it will be in the fullness of time. But perhaps God might be in the mood to answer, look at all the ways you've gone astray before. Learn your lessons from there. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the program. That's 334-272-9228. This part of the show brought to you by Pest Pro Services and their Pest Pro, Ashley, and that fantastic team, ready to help you with any and all of your pest control needs. As we head into the new year, you need to be thinking about termite inspection and termite protection. If you've been procrastinating, slacking, just say, I'm not too worried about it. Maybe you're a fan of Russian roulette too. No, don't let termites actually start to take over your property, your home. It's going to be a big, big, expensive fix if you allow them to do that. Instead, get ahead of the problem. Have Pest Pro come out, inspect your property for termites, and then lay down year-round protection. And of course, they offer many services there beyond termite protection and inspection. Go ahead and sign up for their monthly subscription model to get basic pest control coverage. On top of that, you can add things like termite inspection protection, mosquito protection, as well as wildlife control service. In these colder months, those little critters outside, that wildlife is trying to make a home out of your home. Do not let them do it. So y'all check out Pest Pro Services today. You can always learn more yourself at ppsriverregion.com or search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces or just call them direct. 265-9990. That's 265-9990. When you want to know, call a pro. Pest Pro Services, and be sure to tell them that Joey, that fellow on the radio, sent you. Let's go to line one. You're on the air. Who's this?
It's Papa B.
Hey, Papa B. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Well, I can tell you want to move on from the Maduro thing, but
no, we can go back to it. I didn't want to. I did 2 hours on that. If you want to chime in, please do.
I know, and you've done good. You've done very well. So, but you know, the mental image of Eddie and all that he painted, it's just disturbing and disgusting. I really don't need that in my brain. I want to get
you didn't actually have to see it.
Just you saying it is enough. I'm repulsed just because as the way you described it.
Well, here's my extra thought. You'd think being barrel chested would hide the gut more. Anyway.
Oh no. Don't say it. Oh Lord, have mercy on us all. Well, here's another disturbing and disgusting mental picture for you. A meme that I saw with Maduro's first day in prison. He's being led into a jail cell, and there is seated P. Diddy as his new cellmate.
And both people think it's about the oil, but it ain't about the oil, right, Nicholas?
Yeah, but what kind of oil? Oh no. Anyway, let me move on. So let me just ask you, Joey, you know this. Hasn't Central and South America been like the CIA and deep state's playground out of country just forever?
Yes.
And a day?
Yes.
Haven't they overthrown one government after another and installed their particular person that they wanted to be at the reins?
Yes,
Yeah.
and we're schizophrenic about it because the Democrats like the socialist regimes and more conservative folks don't.
Well, yeah. And I mean, and when I say deep state, okay, let's just translate that. Democrats and rhinos.
Mhm.
That's who we're talking about here. Now, Maduro is, he was installed, I was going to say, in 2013, I believe.
Yeah, he was Hugo Chavez's like handpicked successor.
Right. Okay. And, you know, that last election, of course, is disputed. You know, people don't believe he won, and I don't believe he won either. Ruled with an iron fist, obvious narco terrorist ties, human trafficking ties, probably.
Mm-hmm.
We might be able to find some things out here and get some juice out of this little lemon. Maybe he's going to spill the beans on a few folks. I mean, if you believe rumors, and I don't like spreading rumors, but might be some things to it.
Well, perhaps, yeah. I think there's more. Maduro was a strong man in the handpicked, I would say, figurehead. My understanding is the way Venezuela runs, like most places run, is it's sort of an informal oligarchy. It's about 50 families. It's like a mafia thing, kind of. And so each one has their own little fiefdom, and Maduro, as like Chavez was before, was the figurehead that sort of kept it all together. So if he starts talking or giving insights, I don't know if he will based on what he said in court today, but if he does, yeah, you could see this speeding up. And it's not about the oil. I think it is much more about not letting other power players play in our own backyard, our hemisphere. And it's just generally the Trump doctrine. You just go read the new national security strategy of the United States. This was signaled very loud and clear.
So I'm just going to have a moment of, I wonder if, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if Daddy Bush had anything to do with Venezuela. I wonder if we might find out that Jeb went down and had anything to do with Maduro. I wonder if we're going to find out that there's a whole lot more than just drug trafficking that's gone on. I wonder if there are some things like boat fixing that has gone on, and Venezuela was part of the 2020 elections in this country, and some of the other election, you know, overturning the duly elected in places like Brazil. This guy was a deep state guy. I mean, who owned him? I don't know. Who he dealt with? Of course, we're going to find out, maybe. But I think we might find out that this little cat, he was up to a lot more than just the drug trafficking thing. I'm glad he got arrested, and I'm glad he got he's being brought to justice. But I got to believe that this is just a good front, a good solid legal front to get him in there and maybe squeeze him a little bit. See if that little bird sings.
Yeah, and I would call that, and it is speculation, but I would call that speculation vindication for Sidney Powell.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Kraken moment, I remember that press conference. And I also remember thinking, Sidney, if that's true, you should shut your mouth. Like, be quiet for a second.
I mean, I really appreciated her for, being vocal about it, the obvious overthrow of you call it stealing an election fair and square. No, stealing an election with malicious intent. The people are the rightful owners of this country. We get to vote for who we want as president. This was not about fair and square at all. It was, an overthrow of the government, if you will, of the people, by the people, and for the people. Yeah, they did it undercover, and they really did a good job of it. But they had a lot of good practice doing it in South and Central America and other places around the world. They just used all of the things that they've been practiced, that they had practiced on for years and years and decades, and they brought it into our country to do the same thing, in my humble opinion.
Maybe. That's I think that's
So-
fascinating, and that's one possibility.
We'll see, as you know, what Dan used to say.
In the fullness of time, yes.
I think this fullness of time is going to be up real quick, like though, because there might be some people in boot shaking mode right now.
Oh yeah, and Colombia and Cuba in particular.
Right away, Cuba, and Cuba's interesting because they were so dependent, really, on the Maduro regime, propping them up with the oil dollars. Well, that was the last thing that's keeping them up. So what's going to happen with Cuba? It looks to me like if that regime topples, well, I mean, we don't certainly want to go into every little old P-nanny country, but maybe we could just let the Cuban Americans go down and do what they want to do to get something started again. I don't know. What do you think might happen, Joey? It's destabilizing all this.
I wouldn't pretend to know. It seems the Secretary of State, and it could be a Rumsfeld moment, but it seems Rubio is quite confident that Latin America is not the Middle East, and we have much more of a hold on this thing. And perhaps that is true, just the way they're carrying this out. We don't need a huge, invasion. In fact, there are a lot of folks that would love to see these folks gone. And it's this little, they're very strong in their own backyard when they're left alone. But as soon as you put a little pressure, they fold. And, I take my cues from like some of the folks, the leaders in that part of the world I really respect, like Javier Milei of Argentina or Bukele of El Salvador. They're over the moon about this latest development. So,
they are.
In a second, I'll play here a clip from Trump and Rubio talking about Cuba and maybe what's next.
I just tell you something. Thank the Lord for Marco Rubio. I have never been prouder of this man. I really always have liked him, even after he spilled water all over himself trying to give the, Republican reply those years ago. But, I've always liked him. But I'm telling you right now, he is doing yeoman's work.
I can't say the same, but I agree with you on the conclusion. Like it was almost like he was unchained getting out of the Senate and getting the Secretary of State job.
Yes. That's a great term for it right there. Yep. All right. Well, all right, my friend. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Papa
And
B.
Joey, change clothes, please, before you come in.
Change? Oh, Eddie?
Yeah, Eddie. I'm sorry. Eddie, change clothes before you come in, please. And not to anything like what you got on now.
I second that. I second that all day, every day. I can't unsee it. Sorry, I can't unsee it. Appreciate it, Papa B.
All right, bud.
272-9228. Let's go to line 2. You're on there. Who's this?
Joey, you know who it is. It's Special K.
Hey, how are you doing?
Now listen, we are such a schizophrenic nation. We blame people for sending drugs here when we want them to send drugs here. We are a nation of drug addicts, and we blaming people for sending it over here because we want them to. We are such big hypocrites, and I don't know what to do as a nation. I support Trump, but I don't support this one. Okay, since when do we have the constitutional right to go to somebody else's country and remove them by force? That is not the nation that I serve. That's a bunch of crap, and I don't like it. And we still gonna have drugs. We're always gonna have drugs because America is a nation of big drug users.
Well, we's doing a lot of work there. You're going to find hypocrisy in any collective.
But when you start putting people's life on the line and removing, see, this guy was not a head of state, wouldn't bother me that much, but he is a head of state. It's their state. If the Venezuelans don't want to do what it takes to get rid of them, that's their problem. But if somebody came over here and took Trump out of the White House one day, we will be ready to have World War III.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but there are a lot of folks that want to see that done to Bibi Netanyahu, and yet they're screaming about this particular one. So I guess who's a criminal and who can be arrested is in the eye of the beholder. I would say the United States has allowed this to percolate and the cartels to grow into what they have become. And the people of Venezuela have tried to vote this guy out. and using abject violence and pretty extreme means, they have stayed in power, and they live by the sword, and they found out somebody's got a bigger sword with this action.
Well, again, it goes against, I believe, and first of all, our Constitution does not allow us to go to some other country and remove their head of state. Now, I've been looking in that Constitution, and I haven't seen it. Now, if he was in America already, and we served him with this indictment, I'm good with that. But we're going to go in the dark of night, steal another nation's head of state? Are we serious?
Yeah,
anyway,
I think we are.
I just want that. Yeah, I know we are, but wait till the other shoe falls. Now, what happens if some dark, sinister person from Venezuela don't like it and decide to come over here and do something dastardly to us or one of our citizens or one of our cities?
Well, that's already been happening, right?
It has been. But again, I'm just looking at the part of the Constitution that allows us to go to another head of state, not a criminal. He may be a criminal, but we can argue that about some of our presidents. But we, again, man, this is not a good look for the United States. We have never provoked anything. We have just most of the time protected other people. Now, I know we did Noriega. I know we did Gaddafi and all that stuff. Yeah, we got a habit of putting bad people in charge. We do. But you know what? This is not a good look. And that's just one man's opinion.
Well, I appreciate the call and appreciate the opinion. Thanks, Special K. 272-9228. Oh, look, let's go to line 1. You're on there. Who's this?
Hi, it's Debbie.
Hey, Debbie.
Listen, I understand what this man that was on before is trying to say. I get what he's saying, but at the same time, you have to look at things like Hitler. Isn't that why we sat back for so long while he did all the damage he did? Because we didn't feel like we should be getting involved? And that was horrendous. And that was probably a mistake to wait as long as we did on Hitler. Then you have things like what happened with Obama and over there with Gaddafi. That didn't seem right to me. And then Bush, it was Iran, or Iraq rather.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's been going on. It's not like this is a new thing, but at the same time, when you have a democratic nation begging for our mercy or help, and you had Joe Biden running on a ticket saying he was going to help Venezuela, which he never did. This woman that actually won the election gave her humanitarian award to Trump to get his attention and begged for that mercy, that help.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as a nation, as strong as we are, maybe we should have listened. And I'm glad we did, because these people now finally have a chance to be a free nation. And so there's always a give and take on all of it.
Oh, sure. And again, a full-on invasion of Iraq or a 7-month bombing campaign of Libya is very different than a few-hour operation to arrest a guy that has multiple indictments on top of him. You know, we could have killed him like bin Laden, but I don't know. I just think there are a lot of Americans, including friends of mine, appealing to the Constitution. I'm like, I think y'all are, especially when it comes to war powers and foreign policy powers of presidents, y'all are living in an idealistic fantasy land. And you need to understand, take off the idealistic glasses and look at your country with clear eyes, for better or for worse, on what we are.
Right. That's why I said that what I said, as far as having mercy for those that are in a democratic mind, would love to go back to that. And if we can help, I think it's our duty to help them. And I just feel like this was one thing I do agree with. I didn't understand the Gaddafi thing. I didn't understand why we had to go into Iraq. No, I did not. That to me was a little bit too much in my mind. But when you go in clear cut, you know exactly what you're going to do. You get it done, you get out, you don't hurt any more than what you have to get it done. And the people are thankful. I think that's different.
Well, we'll have to just watch it play out. But I appreciate it, Debbie.
Yes.
Appreciate the call. Let's go to line 3. You're on there. Who's this?
It is Tim. How are you, Joey? Good to talk to you.
Doing great, Tim. How you doing?
Hey, fine, man. Let me give. I can appreciate what this guy is saying, but I think it's way off base. Let me give an illustration. Let's say, and I bet you this guy lives in a neighborhood, but you live in a neighborhood, and there is a bully in that neighborhood. He's running through there. He's causing all kinds of havoc in that neighborhood. He is ransacking some homes. He's robbing some people. He's causing harm. He has even hurt individuals. Some people have even died in that neighborhood because of what this individual is, or this group of individuals, whatever you want to say, is doing. You mean to tell me that HOA or that neighborhood isn't going to get together and stand up? And let me tell you, there are people. This is an attack on a country that is attacking us. The Venezuelans aren't going to fight for America, and so we're fighting for ourselves. That's why Trump went over there to say, you're not going to harm Americans any longer. You are not. We're going to take care of you. And for him to go in and do what he did, and by the way, you just said it, we could have killed him. Okay, we could have taken him out, but instead we just went and grabbed him and his wife, and we did what was right, and it is constitutional. It's not against the Constitution. Read it up. And so, but in that neighborhood, you're going to stand up for what's righteous and what's right, and that's what Trump is doing. And thank God for Trump trying to keep all this garbage from harming more Americans.
I hear you loud and clear, Tim. Great call. Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you, bro.
Again, 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. It's now official. U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville has filed his qualifying paperwork on Monday at the Republican Party of Alabama headquarters. Sometimes there's nothing like paperwork to get you in the mood for the new year, right? Mike Rogers announces 2026 re-election run. So Mr. Helmet Hair is sticking around. And Derek Chin, I like Derek a lot, like that guy a lot. He is focused in staying in the state auditor race, even after Andrew Sorrell says, I'm not running for Secretary of State anymore. In fact, I'm running for re-election, which leaves Caroline Dobson on her own for the time being. Maybe somebody else will try to qualify to make it more of a fight for that nomination to be the next Secretary of State. But all the sort of paperwork coming in right before deadlines. People are starting to line up where they should go. 272-9228. Again, if you want to get in on the conversation, we'll be right back after this.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson from the Goodson Group with your Real Estate Minute. Are you getting ready to put your home up for sale? Remember the 6 Ps. Prepare your home by deep cleaning, painting where needed, yard work, decluttering the inside. Present your home to the market through the experienced realtor who knows how to market the home and get it sold. Price the home at fair market value of what the home should bring in today's market. Your realtor can guide you in pricing the home to sell, not sit. Pay for part of the closing cost and provide a 1-year warranty. Buyers today don't have the down payment and all the cost of buying a home without some help. Prepare to look at offers from the marketplace and accept the best offer for your needs. And 6, place your trust in experienced professionals, including your realtor, closing attorney, and mortgage company. For all the details, call Bo Goodson at the Goodson Group, 221-2883. And remember, we are now hiring agents, both new and experienced. Call me today for an interview. Bo Goodson, 221-2883.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
I'm Jim Smith with Adams Drugs. At Adams Drugs, we offer a wide variety of services, including delivery, compounding, wellness clinics, and immunizations. Now is the time to visit any Adams Drugs location and get your flu shot. Getting an annual flu shot can help prevent you from getting the flu, reduce the severity of symptoms if you get the flu, and prevent serious complications such as hospitalization and death. Getting your flu shot at Adams Drugs protects you from getting sick, but it also makes sure that those around you, especially those at high risk, remain safe. Each year, up to 49 million people in the U.S. contract the flu. Depending on the flu virus's severity, deaths as a result of flu complications could skyrocket to 79,000 people nationwide. Visit us at adamsdrugs.net for a location nearest you. Adams Drugs is your local, independently owned Health Mart pharmacy. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Rich Thomas Weather is brought to you by Wiley Sanders Truck Lines.
Go to work for a family that puts God and family first. Wiley Sanders is looking for experienced dump truck drivers. Call them today, 855-777-9785. Drive for Wiley Sanders Truck Lines and be part of the family.
Rich Thomas Weather.
Hi, everybody. On this first full week of 2026, we have a warming trend to look forward to. Tonight will be cloudy at times, overnight low temperature down to about 51. I've got us around 74 for a high tomorrow and middle 70s on Wednesday. Dry weather, partial sunshine. The next risk of isolated showers holding off till about Thursday, and a better chance, I think, on Friday with highs in the 70s both days. More showers on Saturday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
The holidays may be over, but the bills don't have to weigh you down. Let ASE Credit Union help lighten your financial load with our special post-holiday loan options. Visit us online at yourasecu.com or stop by one of our branches to learn more. Terms and conditions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
The premier place the River Region turns to for news, weather, traffic, and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Before it leaves my mind, this could only be the beginning of major changes in the Western Hemisphere. Let's listen in. This is the President and Secretary of State Rubio addressing the question of Cuba.
Well, Cuba is an interesting case. Cuba is, not doing very well right now. That system has not been a very good one for Cuba. The people there have suffered for many, many years. And I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation. And we want to help the people. It's very similar in the sense that we want to help the people in Cuba, but we want to also help the people that were forced out of Cuba and living in this country. Do you want to say something about that, Marco, please?
Well, I mean, I just gave you a statement a few minutes ago about, when the president speaks, you should take him seriously. So suffice it to say, Cuba is a disaster. It's run by incompetent, senile men, and in some cases, not senile, but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse. And by the way, they were, all of the guards that helped protect Maduro, this is well known, their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. I mean, it's amazing. This poor island took over Venezuela in some cases. One of the biggest problems the Venezuelans have is they have to declare independence from Cuba. They tried to basically colonize it from a security standpoint. So, yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned, at least a little bit.
Putting up the oil flow to Cuba from Venezuela?
Well, the president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned, it's sanctioned oil.
Yeah, it's not going through. Again, they're not playing, folks. Let's go to line one. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, it's Cedric. How you doing, Joey?
Good. How are you, Cedric?
So far, so good. Listen, we have to reclaim our American leadership around the world, not just here, but abroad, because when China and Iran and all of these cartels, international cartels, can bring fentanyl and other agents of chaos and sleeper cells into our hemisphere and into our country, we have to stand up. When I was growing up, I played a good deal of sports. And one thing across the board is you get tough because you're going to get banged up on that field. Whatever that field is to you, you're going to get banged up. There's going to be times where the other team is going to target you.
So you get physical. If it breaks out into a fight, your team is going to show up for you. And anybody that's on your team that doesn't show up for you, then they're going to have to explain themselves when we get back to the locker room. Now is the time for leaders around this country to realize that we can do the family infighting all we want to, the Democrats over here, Republicans over here, but there are real enemies against this country. President Donald Trump, thank God for his leadership, not just because I support the man and voted for him 3 times, but because he believes in our military enough to give them the equipment to allow them to go in to do the job. This military under President Donald Trump is so precise, not just the strikes in Iran, but the operation that they pulled off in Venezuela. People should really study this, the information that has come out. They knew that there would be leaks. So President Trump went as far as 4 to 3 to 5 times, allowing the military to go all the way up to that line, and he aborted. Because he knew that if I brought in, public officials here in America, which ones will leak this information, I don't know. But it's going to translate into American lives being lost. That didn't happen. The U.S. military was allowed to do what they do best. Go in, complete the clear mission, get out, leave nobody behind, and send shockwaves throughout this world that it's America first. And anyone in this, not only this nation, but around the world, if your plan, if your agenda is to harm Americans, we will find you and we will bring you to justice.
Well said. Well said as always. And I appreciate the call. Good to hear from you, Cedric. 272-9228. Now, before I run out of time here earlier, I mentioned that Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, he is not running for re-election. Nick Shirley putting out, I ended Tim Walz. Gotta love that. But of course, Donald John Trump is not going to let this go by without making a statement. Minnesota's corrupt governor will possibly leave office before his term is up, but in any event, will not be running again because he was caught red-handed, along with Elon Omar and others of his Somali friends, stealing tens of billions of taxpayer dollars. I feel certain the facts will come out, and they will reveal a seriously unscrupulous and rich group of slime balls. And slime balls is all caps and in quotations. I don't know what that is. Governor Walz has destroyed the state of Minnesota, but others like Governor Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, and Kathy Hochul have done, in my opinion, an even more dishonest and incompetent job. No one is above the law. He knows how to twist the knife with that last statement. No one is above the law. So we'll see. We'll see. Just wait and wonder what's next. Because 2026 has only just begun. Be right back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
This is your roving reporter. Today I'm talking with a prospector. That's right, man. I'm prospecting for gold. You dig? No, but it looks like you do. And you know the first thing I'm going to do when I strike it rich? What's that? I'm going to hire David Ernest to be my money man. You mean everyone's favorite asset preservationist? That is correct, man. I'm going to call him up at 833-596-7233. 833-596-SAFE. You know, I've heard a lot of good things about David Ernest. You know, he's the best money man around with over 40 years of experience. Experience is necessary, especially when you're digging for gold. That's right, man. And I can see that you don't have very much experience. What do you mean, man? Well, you have the little plastic bucket and shovel like a kid would take to the beach. Yeah, man. Well, I want to start out small and then kind of pace myself up until I strike it rich. Well, maybe you should call David Ernest first. You think he's got a shovel? Never know till you ask. I dig, man.
When it's time to replace an old window or door, you want expert craftsmanship and proven experience. You want Davis Door and Sash. Right now, take advantage of our limited time promotion. 10% off materials on new energy efficient doors and windows. Voted best in the river region for windows and installation in 2024 and 25. Davis Door and Sash would love to work for you. Call 334-288-6010 or visit davisdoorandsashalabama.com. Davis Door and Sash, the perfect fit for your home.
This is Frank Bertarelli with Zap Pest Control. We're here today to thank Blue Water Broadcasting. We're now over 31 years in business. If you don't believe in radio advertisement, give these guys a chance. You won't be disappointed. Zap Pest Control is still on the move today, thanks to the friendships we've made with Blue Water Broadcasting.
Our advertisers are our biggest advocates. Call us to find out how radio can increase your bottom line. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Trustworthy, accurate, immediate. Carrying your voice across the river region. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Let's go right to the phones and talk to Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. Hey, Ray, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Oh, life's all right. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you guys. What a interesting weekend it's been. Anytime that Trump can make the left look like they lose their mind over a dictator, I mean, you just don't get win after win after win like this, do you?
No, not quite. And it is interesting to see how many folks were like calling for Maduro to be taken out and a bounty on his head. And Trump didn't take him out in the first term because he loves dictators. They're his best friends. And now they all have to, pretend like they never said stuff like that.
And then what I can't get my head wrapped around, if you see an entire country celebrating because they're sick and tired of what's going on in their country, why are you going to fight against that? Why can't you just be happy for them?
Amen.
But it is the world we live in, right? Hey, but if you want to be happy, every time you get up, call me, 285-8117, because every time your feet hit that soft floor, oh my, you're going to be so happy. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. The extremely soft carpet, the silk carpet from Mohawk, absolute, worth every penny. That I can't even explain it to you unless you come by and feel it. It's hard to explain it on the radio. So if you're in need of a floor, call us, 285-8117.
Again, that's 285-8117. And folks want to come by and feel it. Is that 2201 Cobbsford Road?
It is. And tomorrow I will be in Atlanta buying displays and new stock for the year. So it might be a little loud when you call me tomorrow.
Okay, well, but good luck on the trip and look forward to talking to you then.
All right. Y'all have a good day.
Appreciate you, Ray. And that's Ray Bowles of Prattville Carpet. Call them up, 285-8117, and be sure to tell them that you heard Ray on the radio with that Joey fella. So what did we learn today? Oh, yeah. Don't mess with Trump. I think Secretary of War Hegseth literally said, you F around, you find out, in his official statement on Saturday morning after the president and Marco Rubio spoke. And I'm sorry for all the folks treating this like it's like we've invaded Iraq again. No, I think this is, in fact, as Rubio's right, apples and oranges. Or this is like bombing Libya for 7 months. I have a sense that, no, it's slightly different. There are different countries and different capabilities. Now, could this in some way go sideways like any policy might? Sure. I will listen to consistent anti-war voices, but I ain't going to listen to Democrats who all of a sudden go, oh, yeah, I love peace. I'm a peacemaker. You know, the way y'all keep screaming about peace sounds like you kind of want war, but against the current occupant in the White House, not against anybody else out there in the hinterland and in the hemisphere. But that is I think the big news, though Trump has been saying this and signaling this since he first got back into the office and had all of his deputies doing the same thing from J.D. Vance to Rubio to Hegseth. The Monroe Doctrine is now the DONROE Doctrine. He still got it, folks. Even though he was a little tired yesterday, you could see he stayed up all night watching the operation. And I have to say, like, as much as you might think we're not competent, like you look at that withdrawal from Afghanistan during Biden's tenure and you go, what the hell is this? When you look at fighting a 1-year war for 20 years in Afghanistan, when you look at the mess of into the fire, out of the fire, out of the frying pan, into the fire with Iraq and ISIS and all the other stuff. Yeah. I get why people are like, let's not have any more big old wars. But again, I think this president's point and purpose is to create actual peace. Not a status quo that isn't quite kinetic war, but it's still nonetheless ripping lives apart and allowing big, great players on the world stage to fester and grow in our own backyard. The DONROE Doctrine is here to stay. Now, of course, I think the president is very well aware that in 2026, the focus should be much more on America and on cleaning up a lot of the corruption they've pointed out and on making sure this economy is going gangbusters, if I can even use that term. Gangbusters. You need a booming economy, not just for Wall Street folks, but you need one for Main Street folks. And if that starts to come to fruition, say in about 6 months, right around America's 250th birthday on July the 4th, then I think we're going to have a very happy midterm season indeed. If not, we're in for a heck of a fight. But right now, when I look at the lay of the land, not just nationally, but also here in Alabama, you got to wonder, is the table fully set? Who will actually be in the race for Senate? Will Caroline Dobson now have any competition for Secretary of State? Will Coach Tuberville, even though, say, Doug Jones and others try to make a big case, will he indeed be governor? And so many other things we could discuss. That lieutenant governor's race is a little crowded, too. Anyway, I've talked enough. Eddie should be here tomorrow. Sans Speedo. I mean, I guess he can wear it under his clothes if he likes. But I don't know. Like, Pamela's here getting ready for Greg. And Eddie, as at 12:07, as I'm just getting into the show, trying to set up Jarrett Hudson, great Senate candidate.
Yeah.
Eddie sends me a photo of him in a Speedo saying, never forget.
Is it the one that Susanna sent the other day?
Yeah, and he's got the fake mullet and the trucker hat on. And as I told Papa B, you would think somebody so barrel-chested would hide their gut. But it doesn't work that way. But he's confident, and confidence is all really fashion requires. Anyway, y'all stay tuned. Happy Hour with Greg and Pamela and the whole gang. They're next.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Venezuela's captured president and first lady have both entered pleas of not guilty to drug trafficking. That happened today amid courthouse demonstrations and media scrutiny at a courthouse in New York City today. Shares of major U.S. companies in the energy sector have been sharply higher after President Trump announced plans to take control of Venezuela's oil industry. He also said American companies would revitalize it after capturing President Maduro over the weekend. The U.S. action is unlikely to have an immediate impact on